Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Election Night 2022, the midterms. You're joining us for GRABET TV's coverage this evening in conjunction with the Western Journal, brought to you by the Nevada Republican Club. We are so excited to be bringing you all of the latest information, not only on the great state of Nevada, but on races all over the country. But let's start with Nevada if we can. So we are just now at the 8 o'clock hour, and polls were supposed to close at 7 o'clock. However, if you're in line, that means there is still time for you to vote. So polls have not officially closed, as they're still taking votes in several locations all across the state. But I can tell you this. Exit polling says it's going to be a very good night for Republicans in Nevada. I want to show you some NBC exit poll data right now, if we can, Spence, where it basically shows that it's going to be a great night for Governor Lombardo. As you can see there, the men went for Lombardo by about 56%. Women went for Lombardo by about 47%. The white community went for Lombardo. The black community appears to be favoring Sisolak, and the Latino vote, which everyone is talked about. Are the Latinos going to come out and vote? It does appear as they are. It does appear as if Sisolak is winning that at the moment. But here's why we think it's going to be a great night for Republicans. Republicans beat Democrats 2-1 so far in voting on election day, which really is quite the feat when you consider that here in the great state of Nevada, we had some very unusual and weird weather. What kind of weather? It actually rained almost all day long here in southern Nevada and the Las Vegas Valley. We have not seen rain like this, steady rain throughout the day, and years. I've lived here for about 11 years. This is the first time I've seen anything like it. And we had snow up in the north, which has definitely changed things, but it seems to have worked in Republicans' favor. And throughout the nation right now, while it's too early to call it a red tsunami or a red wave, I can tell you things are looking very good, particularly for Republican governors all across the country. More good news for hopefully Governor Lombardo, Sheriff Lombardo, as we await results in Nevada. Let's talk about some of the big races all over the country, though, particularly the gubernatorial races. One of the biggest gubernatorial races so far has been in the great state of Florida, the Sunshine State. I'm sure by now many of you know that, of course, is Governor Ron DeSantis, who was facing a former governor, former Governor Charlie Crist, a current assemblyman. There you can see them right there. Well, I can tell you this, DeSantis has run away with this one. He has already been declared the winner. It was really, for lack of a better term, it was quite a spanking. When it comes to the Florida Senate race, you know, Democrats were very hopeful about this one. They really liked Demings. She is a former police chief in the Orlando area. Democrats were really pinning all their hopes on her. But at the end of the day, it just didn't happen. Rubio has run away with this one as well and has already been declared the winner. Other states where Republicans are doing quite well. Let's go to the great state of Alabama. This should be no surprise to anyone that Alabama is staying red in the gubernatorial race. That is where incumbent Ivy has retained her lead and has defeated the Democrat in that race, Flowers, who was running there. On the Senate side, this is some big news on the Senate side in Alabama, though. Alabama just elected its first woman to the United States Senate right there. Britt has won. She was the chief of staff for the outgoing senator there. This was an easily decided win. Another state that's had some great wins tonight is South Carolina. It should come to no surprise to you that Tim Scott, the senator of South Carolina, has run away with that one, but we've been watching a governor's race there as well. So Tim Scott being reelected for another 6-year term. And then when it comes to the governor's race, the incumbent governor there, who is also a Republican, McMaster, has easily won that race as well. I want to go to two New England states now, Vermont and New Hampshire. And I'm going to say something that might surprise you a bit, but Vermont has gone red, at least on the gubernatorial side. I can guarantee you right now on the Senate and the House side there, it won't be going red today. But in Nevada, Governor Phil Scott has won another term. I do believe this is his fourth 2-year term. Yes, the governor is up every 2 years there. And it's quite normal for a governor of Vermont to be a Republican. I know you're like, hey, that's a liberal state. It's where Pat Leahy is. It's where Bernie Sanders is. There's no way a Republican can win there. When I used to do the news for the NBC affiliate in Vermont, we had a governor governor, who was Republican governor, Jim Douglas, the entire time I was there. That's the odd thing about Vermonters. Well, Vermonters are very, very liberal, and it's very much a socialist state that loves and worships Bernie Sanders. Out in the rural areas, they are far more conservative because those are farmers, those are hunters, and they often choose Republican governors. Now, over in New Hampshire, we have also reelected a Republican governor. Sununu had an easy win. That was kind of expected. When it comes to the Senate race in New Hampshire, though, it may be a different story. So Sununu has locked that one up. But when it comes to the Senate race, it looks like Maggie Hassan has won that one. You know, there was a lot of hope for Bolduc. Bolduc was someone that the Democrats put a lot of money into. I said that right. The Democrats put money behind Bolduc, the Republican candidate, assuming that it would be an easy win for them. And it looks like the Democrats' bet paid off there, as Maggie Hassan will be seeing another 6-year term in New Hampshire. New Hampshire is another interesting state. You know, its motto is live free or die. So they are very independent. There's a lot of people there who hate taxation in the great state of New Hampshire, but it is so close and such a sister to Vermont that it does have that very liberal socialist end to it as well. So that is what's going on across the nation right now. But as we said, polls have not yet closed in Nevada. But again, Republicans are outperforming on election day 2-1. What does that mean for mail? I'm so glad you asked. That's an excellent question. The mail votes have not all come in. They have not all been counted. But one of the first things we will see when poll numbers do come down for the great state of Nevada, we will see those early voting numbers that they have already counted. And it is looking like it could be a good night for Republicans. I want to turn things over quickly to Rudy Pamatuan, the president of the Nevada Republican, one of our great sponsors for our broadcast this evening. Rudy, what are your feelings about Nevada's chances here on this midterm election night?
Michelle, thank you for having me. We're really excited. You know, I was on the phones the last couple nights over at the April Becker for Congress headquarters, and we spent the last week calling independent voters, and 10-1 independent voters are all leaning Republican. And I believe that that's a small cross-section of what we're seeing across America. The last 2 years, Americans have seen struggle and hardship because of far left policies. And today is payday. Americans are now stepping up and they're punching back, and we're going to recapture the majority. In Nevada, it's really exciting because all eyes across the nations are looking at our state, because the Laxalt campaign, if we win that, we take the majority in the Senate. If we take the April Becker in CD3 and possibly another congressional seat, we take the majority in the House. And so all eyes are in Nevada, and I'm very hopeful. People are out there working. Up north, it's snowing, but the lines are still, you know, they're forming because people want to vote. Everyone is upset. Everyone is frustrated. The Democrats have been campaigning on nothing other than abortion because of their failed outcomes on their policies. So this is going to be an incredible night in Nevada for Republicans and for Republicans across the nation. We're really excited.
Well, I want to, you brought up abortion, and so I want to bring up a point. I want to bring up a soundbite, Spencer, Rosen not happy. And Rosen was a Democratic commentator who was on, I believe, MSNBC, or no, I'm sorry, it was CNN State of the Union earlier in the week, where she said that she was very disappointed. She was very disappointed in how the Democrats decided to handle this midterm race, where they almost ignored the biggest issue of the day, which was the economy. Spence, do we have that sound? All right, let's hear what she had to say.
I'm a loyal Democrat, but I am not happy. I just think that we did not listen to voters in this election, and I think we're going to have a bad night. When voters tell you over and over and over again that they care mostly about the economy, listen to them. Stop talking about democracy being at stake.
Listen to them. Stop talking about democracy being at stake. You know, I think that was such a pivotal point that she made there, Rudy, because for days now, whether it was President Obama, whether it was former President Obama, President Biden, whether it was Bill Clinton, whether it was Hillary Clinton, we kept getting inundated with this belief system that democracy is at stake. And if you let the Republicans win, we won't be a democracy anymore. Well, we're a democratic republic. And the last time I checked, democracy meant that you were actually voting for the people that you wanted in office. So we were actually experiencing democracy right now. Do you agree with Rosen, though, that the Democrats they just missed the mark this time?
Absolutely. You know, the Democrat Party is no longer the Democrat Party that once was. They are too far left. They are too extremist. When the American people want to talk about gas prices or the challenges they face buying groceries because of skyrocketing inflation, the Democrat Party ignores it. They don't talk about it. You have Biden in the White House that talks about how the economy is strong. You have Kamala talking about how our borders are secure. Both of those are lies. And the American people know better because they're experiencing this hardship every day. Now, when the Democrats want to talk about abortion, or they want to talk about J6, or they want to call us all election deniers, they can do that all they want. But ultimately, the American people want to talk about gas prices. They want to talk about putting food on the table. They want to talk about ensuring that their children have the best public education out there. These are the issues that the Democrats don't want to talk about. And the far left have hijacked the Democrat Party. They are no longer the party of the working class American. They are the party of the far left globalist elitists. And they are not relevant to what's going on with the American people today.
All right, Rudy, thank you so much for all of that. I want to give everyone a quick update now on some numbers. It does appear that up in Washoe County, so that is one of the northern, sometimes it's considered a Republican stronghold. It looks like right now by party breakdown as of 7 p.m., more than 36,000 people have voted in person today, and 17,000 of those were Republicans. Only 8,000 were Democrats. That is why people in Nevada are feeling very good about the results that we'll see here this evening, though we are hearing word that it will be another 2 hours before polls are closed across Nevada. So that means lines are still long across the Silver State, and it could be up to 10 o'clock before we start seeing some of those initial returns. Now, even though we officially can't say we've seen any returns, there are quite a few races in the Nevada Assembly that we can call. Why? Well, because they're running unopposed. Let's take a look at some of those assembly races right now that we can kind of call. And I will say that these are going to be pretty good for Republicans. So, Spence, are we ready to look at some of the assembly races we know are going red? We're going to begin with assembly race number 19. The current assemblywoman there is Annie Black. She is in studio. We'll be seeing her in just a few minutes. That is Toby Urick. He is going to be the new assembly person from this seat that's over up in Mesquite. And it will be very good to see that one as well. All right, Assembly District 26, that is Rich DeLong. And Annie, if you want to get ready to, we're going to talk to you about some of these races. Rich DeLong running unopposed. This is a Republican seat that will be won in the Assembly for Nevada. The next race that we're going to take a look at is going to be Assembly 31, where Jill Dickman, who is a Republican, is running unopposed. So this is another seat. She's the current Assemblywoman, so this isn't a pickup for us. This is something that we're keeping. The next race is going to be Assembly 32, where Alexis Hansen is running unopposed, as is her husband, by the way, Ira Hansen, who is in the state Senate. So the Hansens are quite the lucky couple. They're winning their seats tonight. It's not a stressful election night for them. Good for them. Assembly 36, Greg Hafen, who will be joining us a little later in the broadcast as well, will be getting re-election for his third, I believe it's his third term, as he is running unopposed. In Assembly 38, Greg Koenig, he is also running unopposed. This is also a seat that will be going to the Republicans. And then we will talk about a few Senate races now. We'll talk about Senate race 14. That is Ira Hansen's race, where he is running unopposed. This is one that we will be keeping for the Republican side. And then in Senate 17, Dr. Robin Titus will be the new state senator for District 17. Of course, she was the Assembly minority leader and has been in the Assembly for quite some time. She's taking over that seat, which has been in Republican control for quite some time. So let's talk about the makeup of the Nevada legislature in 2023. And there's no one better to do that with than Annie Black, you're still Assemblywoman for right now, right, Annie?
For a few more hours.
There you go. You're still Assemblywoman for a few more hours. I love it. So you were in the Assembly this last session. You certainly did not have the majority then. Republicans were in a deep, deep minority in the Assembly and the Senate. Do you think things will be, first, I guess I'll get your predictions. Do you think that this time around things will be a little different? Do you have high hopes that we will either pick up more seats in the Assembly or that we could see a potential majority? I mean, is that even something possible?
I mean, I would love to say that we're going to get a majority. My prediction is we pick up 2 seats in the Assembly and we probably pick up one or maybe have a wash in the Senate.
Okay, so who do so you went there, you said you're going to get 2 pickups. Now I got to know who you think you're picking up.
Okay, so I'm betting on Assembly District 12, Fleming Larson, and I have my notebook here with all my notes. And also Assembly District 21 with John Petrick. Those are my 2 faves.
Those are your 2 that you think. So you don't think 35 or 34 will be a pickup then? 35 is where Tiffany Jones is running against Gorlow and Mindy Robinson, and then Stacey Butler is running against SBA. I can't think of her name right now. I can only think of her initials.
So 35, I can tell you. My thought on that was, I love Tiffany Jones and I totally support her, but I wonder if Mindy Robinson isn't going to split some of the vote and basically screw the pooch on that one.
Gotcha.
And then what was the other one?
Shannon Bilbray Axelrod against Stacey Butler in 34.
You know, honestly, from being in the legislature, I've learned that Shannon Bilbray Axelrod is kind of a force up there. And I find it pretty hard to believe that the Democrats are going to let her lose. So I believe that she's probably going to be someone that's going into leadership. And I think it's probably someone they've put a significant amount of resources behind.
Okay, Annie, we do have some breaking news I want to announce right now that in Ohio, it appears that Congressman Tim Ryan, has conceded to J.D. Vance. So Ohio is a pickup in the Senate for the Republicans. And that, my friends, is one of the reasons why we've said we believe this is going to be a good night for Republicans all across the country. Ohio was one of those Senate seats that everyone's eyes were on. We wanted to make, Republicans wanted to make sure that they were able to gain back that majority. We don't have it yet. It is still early in the evening. Absolutely anything can happen, but that is a pickup, and that's a big win. I'm sure you've been following this race, Annie.
Yes. I mean, I've heard a lot about J.D. Vance. The ex-president Donald Trump's been talking a lot about him, been campaigning a lot with him. I think he's an exciting candidate, and I'm not surprised by his victory.
Now, I believe it was last night. Donald Trump was actually campaigning with J.D. Vance and quite a few others in Ohio. And, you know, former President Trump dropped this little bomb. He said he's going to make a big announcement on Tuesday. Any guesses what that announcement is, Annie? I mean, I don't know. Is it that his daughter had a great wedding this weekend? I mean, what do you think that announcement's going to be?
Yeah, I don't know what that could be. It's a big shocker. We're all going to be surprised, right?
It is going to be a big shocker. It is definitely a race that people are going to be talking about. So that's coming on Tuesday. And it's hard to believe, but Annie, as soon as this day is over, or maybe the next couple of days, because we know in Pennsylvania, things could take a while to be called. We know that in Arizona and Maricopa County, where there were some issues earlier in the day and they decided to extend voting hours there. Some of these races, we won't get an answer to tonight. I highly doubt we'll have an answer to which Republican is winning the Senate seat in Alaska. So over the next couple of days, we'll get this information. But of course, as soon as all of these races are tied up, everyone will be looking to 2024.
Right. I mean, the reality is, even when I won my state legislative seat, I was ahead by a significant margin, but we didn't want to call it for a full 2 weeks because you never know what's going to happen with those mail-in ballots. And it's just a very unpredictable situation to be in. But I think even 2 days ago, we should have been talking about 2024. 2 years ago, we should have been talking about 2024. If we were operating like the Democrats do, we would have a long-term plan. We'd be grooming candidates and getting ready for those big races.
100%. All right, Annie. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We'll check in back with you later on. Spence, now we want to talk about the great state of Georgia if we can, because a race has just been called in Georgia. I know everyone's had their eyes on Georgia. I'll let you know right now, it's not the Senate race. No call there yet between Warnock and Herschel Walker, but we can say that it does appear that Governor Kemp has won his re-election as governor of Georgia. Now, this is a big deal in a lot of ways, because as you know, he was running against Stacey Abrams. Stacey Abrams is who he ran against last time. Stacey Abrams refused to concede. I wonder if she'll concede this time. I guess the jury's still out. I have not seen yet that she is willing to concede. But it's an interesting case because we're seeing that, you know, so many of the Democratic Party, so many that the Democratic Party is propping up are people who are turning out to be perennial losers, like Stacey Abrams or Beto O'Rourke. Let's talk about Texas for a minute, because yes, in the great state of Texas, Beto has suffered another huge loss once again. Greg Abbott ran away with that one. I think everyone but Beto O'Rourke and a handful of Democrats knew that was definitely happening. But we can definitely call tonight that Greg Abbott is indeed the winner of that race in Texas. So I don't know if we have that graphic up. No, okay, don't have that graphic up, but we do know that he is the winner there tonight. So it's really turning out to be a great night for a lot of governors. Let's take a look at a few more, because it looks like in Idaho, we're able to call a race. That's one of the first states in the West that we're able to call that governor's race there. We're the incumbent, the Republican. Governor Little has easily won re-election once again against his Democratic opponent. So another good night for Republicans there. And if we'll go right next door to the great state of Wyoming, it appears that in the governor's race there, Governor Gordon, the Republican there in Wyoming, has also secured re-election against his opponent, Livingston. All right, and let's talk about South Dakota. That's a state that everyone loves so much, with Kristi Noem. She's the governor there, and it looks like Kristi Noem has easily secured re-election there. Kristi Noem winning re-election. She will be having her second term. She is someone who many people have their eyes on for 2024 as well. It definitely could be someone who we see as a vice presidential candidate, or maybe she might even run for president herself. So in a moment, Chuck Muth is going to be coming on studio with us to talk about some of these races. Of course, many of you wondering, we've called the Georgia governor's race at this point, but it is still too close to call in the Senate race. I can tell you that Herschel Walker has a slight lead with 85% in, but neither candidate has reached 50% yet. So in the great state of Georgia, what happens is one of the candidates has to reach 50%. If they don't, they then go into a runoff election, which will be, I believe, December 8th. So that means we'll be campaigning the entire month of November if we don't get a winner in that race. All right, Chuck Muth is in studio now. We want to hear from Chuck. First, Chuck, I know you were in the other room where there's quite a few other celebrations and victory parties going on here in the great state of Nevada, even though polls have not officially closed. It's looking like it's going to be a great state, a great day for Republicans in Nevada. What's your take on this, Chuck?
Well, I'm still not quite sure about that.
Okay.
Michelle, because if there's really this red wave out there, in the closing days, we were told that Zeldin was close in New York. And might pull off this great upset, and then he got crushed. And there was talk that we were going to win that New Hampshire seat if there was this big red wave, and he got crushed. Baldock, I think it was, out there. So at least back east, it doesn't appear that that giant red wave was there. Now, there is good news, lots of good news, of course. Kemp has already won the Georgia governor's race against Stacey Abrams. That's wonderful. J.D. Vance won the Senate seat in Ohio, so that's good. Dr. Oz is still close in Pennsylvania. But from what I was watching earlier, it looks like a lot of the votes that aren't counted are from the Philadelphia area, so that does not bode well for Dr. Oz. But so if we lose that seat in Pennsylvania but pick up Ohio, we're still at a net even right now, and we're going to have to pick up another Senate seat somewhere, hopefully here in Nevada, but there's no guarantee. We're going to have to wait and see what kind of results are coming in, whether or not more of a wave is here in Nevada than what we've seen back east.
Yeah, that's interesting. So if things don't go well for Dr. Oz, we picked up J.D. Vance, we picked up Ohio. We really do need Georgia and Nevada to come through tonight. Do you think there's going to be any other surprises, though? Everyone's eyes have been on that. I know a lot of people think Ron Johnson has an easy win ahead of him there. Do you think there's going to be any upsets or things that we weren't expecting? I mean, do you think, I know a lot of people have their eyes on the races in Washington and Oregon. Do you think one of those Senate seats could go Republican? I think we all think the gubernatorial race in Oregon is going to go red, but what about those Senate seats? Any surprises there?
Yeah, of course it could. If there's that regional difference between, if there's something happening on the West Coast that isn't happening and did not happen on the East Coast, it's still possible. But the talk was that there was going to be this giant national red wave because of how badly Biden has fouled up everything for the past 2 years. And if we didn't see it in those states, I'm not inclined to believe that we're going to see that kind of a miracle upset on the West Coast. I'm still hoping that in the purple state of Nevada that there is still, a good shot to win the seats here in Nevada. But on those tough, big Democrat seats up on the West Coast, I wouldn't count on it. It wouldn't be shocking, but I wouldn't count on it.
All right. I want to talk to you a little bit about Nevada. Right now, it appears that Republicans have nearly an 8,000 ballot lead over in Washoe County. Washoe County just had a huge turnout day of. What, in your opinion, does that mean for Nevadans?
That means a lot for Nevada, because as we here in Nevada know and understand, Clark County is generally the Democrat bastion. All of the rural counties are the Republican, and they're kind of a wash. And then everything depends on Washoe County. So yeah, if Republicans do very well in Washoe, then that bodes well for all of the statewide candidates here. If there's coattails, I mean, if it goes all the way down the ballot from U.S. Senate and governor on down, then that bodes well for Republicans. But we're, again, the mail-in ballots, and that's just horrible the way Nevada Democrats have so fouled up our election system with the changes that they made in the last legislative session. It's going to be days, if any of these races are close, before we really find out for sure what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, one of my predictions for the night is, especially now that we know that polls probably won't be closing for another 2 hours, so that puts us close to 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. I'm not sure any of the races are going to be officially called tonight at all, which is a bit of a Debbie Downer for Nevada, but it's because of the way that we do our mail-in voting, and they can actually count votes until Saturday, Chuck. So we're going to be right up there with Pennsylvania, where it could be several days before any of these races are called.
Yeah, I found interesting right before I came on air, there was I just saw a tweet that came out that I guess Catherine Cortez Masto, the Democrat incumbent in the U.S. Senate, has filed an emergency lawsuit trying to keep polling locations in Clark County open longer. And I mean, they were open till 7. If you were in line by 7, you could stay and vote. Everybody's vote would still be counted. But why they had to go to court to try to keep them open longer, I just find it interesting that the Democrat incumbent is suing to keep the polling locations open longer. That tells me that she's a little bit worried about what's going on out there right now in Clark County.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we just learned that Governor Whitmer has won her reelection in Michigan over Tudor Dixon. Was that a race you were keeping your eyes on at all? A lot of people looked at Tudor Dixon as someone who was an up-and-coming person in the Republican Party. She was a TV personality. This was certainly the year for TV personalities in 2022. What's your take? Did you think that was going to be an easy pickup for Whitmer?
Well, I would have thought that in that race, because I mean, really, of all the Democrat governors, she was probably the absolute worst when it came to how they dealt with COVID. And there were so many problems in Michigan with the way she dealt with it. You would think that in this, quote, red wave election, that at least if she was able to hold on, at least it would be a close race. And apparently it wasn't all that close after all. And that's a shame. But again, that is an indication to me that there is no national red wave. It doesn't mean Republicans aren't going to win some races that maybe they wouldn't have won otherwise. But the fact that it wasn't closer in Michigan with a governor who was so bad on COVID for so long, that just causes me concern about whether or not this wave is going to come all the way west.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Another race I want to talk to you about before we take a quick commercial break is New York, because a lot of people have had high hopes with what Lee Zeldin had been doing in New York. He was really focused on the crime issue. A lot of people have been stressed out in New York because of the crime. I have a friend who lives there who says traffic has been insane because no one will take the subway anymore. They are too scared. But it does appear, nope, not that race. We're talking about the governor's race. But it does appear that Kathy Hochul has won re-election for governor. Well, I can't say that. She didn't win re-election. She filled in this position after Cuomo's Me Too scandal. But what was your take on this? Did you actually think Zeldin could pull this off, or was that a lot of wishful thinking from a lot of Republicans?
Yeah, see, that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. In the closing days of the campaign, we were led to believe, by Republicans and conservative media, that this race was close and there was a chance that Lee Zeldin was going to pull off a miracle. He lost by 10 points. In politics, that's a landslide. I mean, that's getting crushed, really. And I think a lot of Republicans in this whole election cycle really missed the boat. They probably should have gotten on that crime issue a long time ago and made that the real central pillar of their election, because New York really screwed up with their letting criminals out with no bail on their own recognizance. And then you see all these repeat criminals getting in. And I think that's probably it's something that happened in Nevada too. We see almost every day someone has committed some violent atrocious crime, and immediately you have to think that person probably had a prior record and shouldn't have been on the street. And then you find out a couple of days later, yep, that person had a prior record and probably shouldn't have even been on the street. So I think Republicans really missed the crime issue here. Zeldin hopped on it in the end. Of course, he had a shooting right in front of his house. But I think Republicans probably should have been focusing on that crime issue a lot sooner.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to take about a 4-minute commercial break, and then we will be back. We'll have Assemblyman Greg Hafen with us and many more races to look at all across the country. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Election Night 2022 on GRABET TV is brought to you in part by the Nevada Republican Club, bringing Republicans together since 1981.
Jake from State Farm. Look, I want that personal price plan, so I'm going to level with you. I've literally never washed Patrick's practice jersey. Superstitious.
Jeff, you don't need to get that personal. The State Farm personal price plan simply helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Yo, Jeff, sure this is clean? Absolutely, Patrick. There you go.
Ugh. That's on me.
Yeah.
Call or click to get a quote today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
The body you've always dreamed of is just a text away thanks to Modern Body and Beauty in Las Vegas. The perfect you without needles, knives, or even exercise. Use the power of science to shrink your waistline, erase your cellulite, and trim your arms. Get real results really fast at Modern Body and Beauty. Text fast results right now for instant savings. Get the body you've always wanted naturally. No knives, no needles, no dieting. With Modern Body and Beauty. A better you is only a text away. Wondering if now's the time to buy or sell a home? Or is a market crash on the way? At Home, a real estate company, John Kennedy and his team will make sure you have all the information you need to make an informed decision. Home is where the heart is, and John Kennedy and his team are ready to lead you home. Give them a call today at 702-640-0101 or visit them at homerealestatecompany.com.
I'm the latest hashtag challenge, and everyone on social media is trying me. I'm trending so hard that hashtag common sense can't keep up. This is gonna get tens and tens of views. But if you don't have the right auto insurance coverage, you could be left to pay for this yourself.
Get Allstate and be better protected from mayhem for a whole lot less.
LadyLikeClothing.com is a Las Vegas locally owned women's boutique created to cater to women who want to look their best without compromising comfort and quality. LadyLikeClothing.com focuses on contemporary, well-designed looks with classic feminine styling. Ladylike Clothing wants to help you build a wardrobe you'll love with beautiful, functional pieces that are never overdone and always ladylike. Shop online today at LadyLikeClothing.com.
Restructured pork patty. Arby's real country style rib sandwich. Arby's, we have the meat.
Order slices and steaks and a 20-ounce Mountain Dew at Little Caesars and get 2 pizzas in 1. Dual double XP for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. That's a two-tastic two-nominal. Unlock dual double XP with a Call of Duty combo or Mountain Dew at Little Caesars.
Pizza. Rated mature. You must accept your brother's fate and your own.
You're not going anywhere.
What is wrong with me?
A Plague Tale Requiem is now available on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PC, and Nintendo Switch.
This is holiday gifting happiness. Because moments before, it was full of fresh festive favorites from Nuts.com. Create your own gift tray or choose from gift baskets and tins with every flavor of happy. Enjoy free shipping with
to GRABET TV and Western Journal's coverage of Election Night 2022, the midterms, sponsored by the Nevada Republican Club. There was a lot going on so far at around 8:30 this evening. Polls have not yet closed in the great state of Nevada. We've heard that there's only one person in line at one of the malls in Clark County, but Catherine Cortez Masto, the sitting senator who is in a tight re-election campaign against Adam Laxalt, has filed a lawsuit in an effort to try to keep the polls even longer. It is looking like it is going to be a very bad night for Republicans in the great state of Nevada, but there is still much time to go ahead before we find any of that out. Should be about 2 hours before we start getting results in this state. But I do want to talk about what could be happening in the Nevada state legislature, and there's no one better to do that than Assemblyman Greg Hafen. And Greg, thanks so much for joining us. I know that we officially can't call your race yet, but you are running unopposed, so I guess I can say congratulations.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. It's great to be here with you. It's a very, very exciting day. Just lots and lots of energy from so many great candidates today.
Absolutely. So election day turnout has had about a 2-to-1 Republican advantage. Were you expecting numbers like this today? Did you think that Republicans were going to turn out in full force when we had snow, we had rain, all sorts of things that the desert never has?
Oh, we weren't going to let a little rain or a little snow stop us from voting. I think it actually helped us. I think the Democrats decided, I don't really feel like voting. The economy sucks. Inflation's horrible. What's the point of going out in the rain?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about that for a minute. Nevada's inflation rate is at 15.4%. The average Nevadan is paying about $831 more monthly for their everyday supplies. And 76% of Nevadans say that high prices are an absolute hardship now. Now, what's interesting is that here in the state of Nevada, we barely heard Nevadans talk about inflation at all. Sure, there was that commercial with Governor Sisolak where he's saying $7 for bacon. I don't like that. But I mean, really, they didn't address it whatsoever. They truly kept their focus on abortion and abortion alone.
Yeah, it was actually really weird that was their whole messaging. But when you think about it, it's their fault. Inflation's their fault. The economy being horrible is their fault. Between bad policies and dumping trillions of dollars into the economy, they've put themselves in this position and really are hurting the American citizens, and the citizens of Nevada are actually worse off than the national average when it comes to inflation.
Yeah, we are worse off. And when it comes to inflation, we have the second highest rent in the nation, second only to Florida. And we also have the third highest gas prices. California and Hawaii are ahead of us. That doesn't say a lot. I know that earlier in the year, many in the Republican caucus had said they wanted to try to do something to ease gas prices for Nevadans by suspending gas tax. The Democrats absolutely refused to hear you out. There was no way that was going to happen.
Yeah, Senator Settlemyre actually put in a request to Governor Sisolak to temporarily suspend the gas and diesel tax. I drive a diesel, so diesel prices are killing me right now. But we made that proposal. We said, hey, let's do this. This should be something that's completely bipartisan. Let's suspend the fuel tax, and we can use some of the ARPA funds to backfill the highway fund as we do it, to try to ease the pain at the pump for the people. And the governor just ignored us, which doesn't surprise me because the governor pretty much refuses to listen to anything that Republicans have to say.
So if we do see a change in who is running the governor's seat here in Nevada, and Lombardo does win, we have a Republican governor, what will that mean for the Assembly and the Senate? Right now, predictions are while we think there's a bit of a pink wave happening here in the great state of Nevada, no one really thinks we're going to win the Assembly, we're going to win the majority in the Assembly, or we're going to win the majority in the Senate. Although, I mean, the night's still young. It could happen. But if we don't, and we do have a Governor Lombardo, what would that mean for what you guys can accomplish in the legislature in 2023?
Well, under either scenario, whether we get the majority or not, with a Governor Lombardo, we have someone we can talk to, someone that will answer the phone and have conversations with us and talk policy, and be in a position that if the Democrats are in control of the House and the Senate, could actually veto some of these bills that are absolutely atrocious, that keep getting rammed down our throats. So I'm looking forward to having a governor that will actually communicate with the Republicans in the Assembly and the Senate.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what are your predictions? How many seats do you think, well, I guess first I should say, do you think we'll pick up any seats in the assembly? And if so, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who do you think we're picking up?
Oh, you're killing me here. The numbers are so close right now. I got to give a shout out to Fleming Larson. He's in a 13.5 point Democrat advantage seat, and his numbers right now are razor thin. I think he might pull this out. I am completely excited for him, and that would be one of our biggest pickups if we can pick that seat up, and more power to him for all the work that he's put in, all of his volunteers. That would be huge. And then there's a number of other seats that we're following that the margins are going to be super thin, but I think we pick up some seats and we grow the assembly. And so I think it's going to be a very exciting, I'll call it a week, not a night.
There you go. Yes, because they can still count ballots all the way up until Saturday. So it could be a long week ahead of us, but hopefully a good week for Republicans. Well, Assemblyman Greg Haven, congratulations again on your soon-to-be official win tonight since you're running unopposed. And we look forward to talking to you again throughout the legislative session. Thanks for joining us here in studio tonight.
Thank you, Michelle.
All right, let's take a look at some of the races across the nation. I can tell you right now that Governor Kemp, he is declaring victory. He has been declared victorious over Stacey Abrams. And in a few minutes, we'll talk to Rudy Pamantuan, the president of the Nevada Republican Club, about that, because one might argue that Stacey Abrams was one of the biggest election deniers on the left. She's not lost once, but twice now to become governor of Nevada. Will Democrats continue to pursue known losers, or will they begin to change their ways? We can also talk about the great state of Michigan, where it looks like Gretchen Whitmer will be receiving re-election. And we can also talk about a few other states. In Vermont, a lot of people weren't expecting this, but we are going to have a Republican governor, Phil Scott, taking on his fourth two-year term in the great state of Vermont. A lot of people wonder, hey, how is Vermont going red? It's actually not that abnormal. Vermont often goes red when it comes to the governor's seat. It's in the House and in the Senate that doesn't happen. I can tell you that in the state of Vermont, so they only have one House seat, and that was currently held by Peter Welch. Peter Welch is abdicating that seat because he is going to be going to the Senate. He is taking Pat Leahy's term over. He definitely, I don't even have to see the numbers. He won tonight. And so who's going to be taking that House seat of Peter Welch? Well, I can tell you the Democrat is definitely going to be winning. We're going to pull up that information for you right now because I don't have her name off the top of my head. Baylen, she is going to be the first woman to ever represent the state of Vermont as a congressperson. So that's going to be a big deal there. I do believe she's also going to be the first member of the LGBTQ community who will be representing the great state of Vermont. I used to live there. It is a great state, albeit a liberal one. All right. Rudy Pamantuan will be joining us here in a moment. I want to get his take on what's going on in Georgia as we can officially declare Governor Kemp has won his reelection. Stacey Abrams has lost for the second time. What's your take on that one, Rudy?
Well, you know what? She's the original election denier. Between her and Hillary Clinton, talking about how President Trump in 2016 was an illegitimate president, they are the true election deniers. When she ran again against Kemp her first time, she said that her race was stolen. And so it's great to see that this election denier loses yet another one. It'll be interesting to see what she says about this one, because this differential and this loss is so large and big, it should be very embarrassing. So this was easy to see. I didn't realize it would be by this much, but it gives you a sense of what's happening across the nation. Republicans are winning big from the East Coast to the West Coast and everywhere in between.
All right. Well, keeping in the theme of Democratic perennial losers, let's go to the great state of Texas, where it looks like Beto O'Rourke, or Robert Francis O'Rourke, that's his real name, where it appears that he has lost again. So we have had continual losses for Beto O'Rourke, and yet he is the darling. He is the golden child. He is the one who sucks up all the money when it comes to reelections, and he's lost again handedly to Greg Abbott. What do you think the fascination is with taking losers in the Democratic Party in some of these states.
Well, listen, we could say whatever we want about this loser Beto, but here, let's look at what's happening, right? You look at Biden and you look at his declining mental capabilities. You look at what's happening in Pennsylvania with Fetterman. He does not have the capacity to do the job as a U.S. Senator. And so the Democrat Party is reaching out for whoever they can get to run for office because they don't have people with strong track records. They don't have real leaders with experience. And so they're really scraping at the bottom, Michelle, and this is really the best they can do. In Texas, Beto is the best that they can do. He's a big loser down there. And, you know, given that, I don't see who else the Democrat Party can find in Texas in the future. The Democrat Party, being controlled by the far left, has a very weak bench. And moving forward, there is no leadership that they can look up to. Yet you look at our bench, the Republican Party across the nation. We have diversity. We have women. They are all young. They are brilliant. We're really excited. The future of America is the Republican Party. And I'm excited with what we're bringing to the table right now in this new majority that's going to take over.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the state just to the north, though, Oklahoma, because a lot of people were afraid that incumbent Governor Stitt was going to lose this one to Hoffmeister, but it appears that they've already called this race. So Oklahoma is going to stay in the Republican category. Were you nervous about this one, or did you think that was a lot of fear mongering and talk that was never going to materialize?
You know what? I think it was a lot of fear mongering, right? You look at rural America. That is the heart and soul of America. And so I wasn't too worried about that. I think that the Democrats had to do whatever they can to put up a front in multiple areas to try to compete against Republicans. I mean, even here in Nevada, when you look at our assembly races and our state Senate races, in the districts that lean Democrat, we found that they were spending quite a bit of money to go up against our Republican challengers. So whether it's local in a state like Nevada or across the nation, the Democrats really didn't have a plan. They didn't really have any targets on what they wanted to do. And they quite frankly didn't have a message. And so they were just kind of throwing out spitballs wherever it could go, hoping that it would stick somewhere. But quite frankly, looking at the early results, especially what we're seeing in the East Coast and Midwest, the Democrats are losing big, and it's to be expected.
And we have another Democrat who has lost big in the great state of North Carolina. We can say that the incumbent senator, I believe his last name is Budd, excuse me, Senator Budd has received re-election in the great state of North Carolina. So North Carolina and South Carolina on the Senate side have all gone red tonight. All right, will Nevada be going red? That's the big question. Well, there are quite a few people downstairs in the ballroom here at the beautiful Red Rock Hotel and Casino who are hoping it's going to be a night of celebration. And that's where we find Eric Corolla this evening with Flagrant Unanja. They are both in the ballroom right now. Guys, what's going on down there? What's the atmosphere like?
Hey, Michelle, it's pretty incredible. You've got a lot of energy in this room right now. It's pretty packed. People are against the wall. As numbers come in, you're seeing an uproar and excitement, just general happiness in the room down here right now.
Yeah, it's like super exciting. Whenever a seat flips red, a lot of cheers in the room. It's really positive, a lot of positive energy here right now. Everyone's really excited. So,
is there any? Do people in the room know that polls at the moment have not officially closed, and they think that it's going to be a couple hours before we get any results? Has that dampened spirits at all, or as we see so many of these Republicans winning across the nation in these gubernatorial races, is that really cheering people up?
Yeah, I don't see anybody leaving here. We've got polls up. We've got live feeds going on. People are generally excited. I don't think anyone's leaving or feeling that down, oh, it's not going to happen tonight. They're just generally excited, and they're seeing straight optimism throughout this entire room right now. It's pretty exciting to be here.
Yeah, and the more that the GOP picks up seats, the happier people seem to get. So.
Absolutely. All right. Well, you guys, we're excited to have you guys down there in the ballroom. We hope to check in with you again very soon and throughout the evening as hopefully the excitement continues to build.
Yeah,
thank you, guys. All right. We can now go to the great state of Iowa, where we can also make another call. Senator Grassley was looking for re-election, and it looks like he has secured that re-election very easily. Senator Grassley has held that seat for quite some time. He is one of the oldest members of the Senate, as well as I believe, coming in at 85 years old. I could be wrong on that statistic. I am doing that from memory. But that is another win. That he's 89 years old. See, I was wrong. He's been in that seat since 1981. There were a lot of people who believed the Democrat Mike Franken could actually win this one. In fact, early on, they were saying it was going to be very, very close. I don't believe that is going to be the case at all, as he has already been declared the winner in that race there. And right now, as it stands, 44 seats have been called for the GOP in the Senate and 42 for the Dems. So we are nowhere near. Oh, the one just went over to the Dems. It looks like in Oregon. That Senate seat there, Ron Wyden, has been called for the Democrat against Joe Ray Perkins. And it looks like in California, this is no surprise, Alex Padilla has taken the lead and is going to be defeating the Republican running against him, Mark Neuser. No one really knew who Mark Neuser was, and Alex Padilla had been appointed to this seat by Governor Gavin Newsom after Kamala Harris was named the vice president. So when you look at the country right now, this middle of the country, very, very red. The East Coast, very, very red. Another state that we think is going to be going red is Utah, where Mike Lee looks like he is setting up for a re-election as well. So that would be another win in the Republican column. All right. There are so many results coming in as we speak. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will have more results for you in just a little bit. So thank you for watching GRABET TV and Western Journal as we bring you Election 2022, the midterms, sponsored by the Nevada Republican Club. Election Night 2022 on GRABET TV is brought to you in part by the Nevada Republican Club, bringing Republicans together since 1981.
At Jersey Mike's, they slice your order fresh right in front of you. And let me tell you, watching that can send a rush of emotions through a person. Excitement, impatience, baby-like wonder, indecisive, anticipatory chewing, nerves pacing, happy claps, and finally, jealousy, because that's this guy's sub. I should order one. Good idea. Sliced right in front of you. The Jersey Mike's thing. A sub above.
The body you've always dreamed of is just a text away thanks to Modern Body and Beauty in Las Vegas. The perfect you without needles, knives, or even exercise. Use the power of science to shrink your waistline, erase your cellulite, and trim your arms. Get real results really fast at Modern Body and Beauty. Text fast results right now for instant savings. Get the body you've always wanted naturally. No knives, no needles, no dieting. With Modern Body and Beauty. A better you is only a text away.
I'm the latest hashtag challenge, and everyone on social media is trying me. I'm trending so hard that hashtag common sense can't keep up.
This is gonna get tens and tens of views. But if you don't have the right auto insurance coverage, you could be left to pay for this yourself.
Get Allstate and be better protected from mayhem for a whole lot less.
You found the right model.
For sure.
Now, how can you be sure you're getting the right deal?
I have to talk to my bestie. Hey, girl. This one's like your last boyfriend. It's got issues.
Well, let's ask the experts. For the right used car, just say, show me the Carfax value. You'll get the most accurate price based on the vehicle's accident history. Look for me and stop overpaying. Shop at the all-new Carfax.com.
The newest thing from Pizza Hut isn't pizza at all. It's cheesy, so crispy, loaded with toppings, and just $6.99. Enough for two, price for one. New Pizza Hut melts, just $6.99.
I be like,
we love our pets, but we don't always love their hair. Let's face it, pets are gonna shed every minute of every day, which is why we made Bounce Pet Hair and Lint Guard with 3 times the pet hair fighting ingredients. just toss one sheet in the dryer to help remove pet hair from your clothes. So go ahead, keep cuddling these guys. Looking good starts in the dryer with Bounce Pet.
Red loved visiting Grandma's house, and after saving big at Amazon, she was ready for those uninvited guests. Shop legendary deals at Amazon.
Welcome back to GRABET TV and Western Journal's coverage of election 2022, the midterm, sponsored by the Nevada Republican Club. We are keeping an eye on all the races all across the country right now, but special attention here at home in the great state of Nevada, where right now polls have still not closed. They were supposed to close around 7 p.m. We are getting into the 9 o'clock hour, and we are not expecting any results to be dropped until 10 p.m. tonight. So everyone is going to be waiting with bated breath. Today has been a great day for Republicans, though. Republicans in Nevada have shown up to the polls, beating Democrats 2-1. So many people think it's going to be a good night for Republicans, although sentiment is turning with a lot of Senate seats not really going our way. In the great state of Ohio, J.D. Vance, the Republican in that race, has been declared the winner, but things are not looking as good right now for Dr. Oz. Unfortunately, in New Hampshire, Bolduc has lost his opportunity to be the next senator from the great state of New Hampshire, as Maggie Hassan has held on for another 6-year term. So we shall see how things are going to be dicing up. You know, when all the experts told you that these races are going to be a toss-up, they weren't lying. These races are indeed going to be a toss-up. One place where everything was decided very quickly was the great state of Texas. And we're going to take a live look at the great state of Texas right now, where John Moore, one of the political commentators for GRABET TV, joins us. John is a candidate himself, and tonight has won election in the Smith County Commission. So congratulations to you, John. I want to talk to you, though. You're in East Texas. A lot of people were probably expecting a big win from Governor Abbott tonight. Was that the case?
Well, he won handily, I will say. I think the most interesting thing about the race is that Robert Francis O'Rourke is now a 3-time loser. He's run for the Senate against Ted Cruz here. He ran for president of the United States 2 years later, and now he's run for governor, and he's lost all 3 times. Governor Abbott is a great governor. He's been a fine, fine man for the state of Texas, and we're glad that we're keeping him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, John, you and I worked in television and radio together in East Texas. That's where Louis Gohmert had been when we were there. Louis Gohmert was a judge, but then he became the congressman in Texas House 1. He has abdicated that seat when he decided to run for attorney general and lost in a primary to Ken Paxton. But his seat isn't going anywhere. It's going to remain a red seat. Just tell us a little bit about the gentleman who has won that seat. He's another judge, correct?
Correct. He is. Judge Nathaniel Moran has served as the Smith County Commissioner's Court judge and the county judge in Smith County, Texas, for a number of years. And when Gohmert decided that he was not going to run again as a congressman, that shifted a lot of things around. And fortunately for us tonight, Nathaniel Moran will be the next congressman for District 1, and we're very excited about that. He handily beat his opponent. I believe it was something like 78% win for him. So it's excellent. He's a fine man.
Absolutely. Well, you know, it certainly has been a great night for former TV professionals in politics. You yourself have won a re-election, or you've won an election as a Smith County county commissioner. So congratulations to you. And I hope that you have a great rest of your evening. But now we're going to take a look at some of the other TV personalities who are running for office all across the country. So John, thank you so much. Let's now take a look at the state of Illinois, where a meteorologist has taken on Esther Joy King in the race for Illinois 17. Spencer, do we have Illinois 17 that we can pull up? Wonderful. So that is Eric Sorensen against Esther Joy King. In this particular race, it looks like Esther Joy King is leading, that this is going to be a Republican pickup. Esther Joy King had actually run in 2020 and lost by just a few thousand votes. Eric Sorensen, I worked with, he was a meteorologist in East Texas, where we just joined John. He would have been one of the very first meteorologists elected to the House of Representatives. He also would have been the first LGBTQ member of the Illinois Congress if he had won election, but it does look like Esther Joy King is going to be taking that one. So a pickup for the House as we get closer and closer to having a Republican majority there. Now I want to go to the great state of New Mexico, where another meteorologist is running for office. We've got Mark Ronchetti. He is running for governor of New Mexico. A lot of people have their eyes on this one. Can he take out the Democrat incumbent Grisham? We don't have results on this one just yet. Oh, wait, I have an update. Eric Sorensen is now ahead of Esther Joy King. So this race is not called yet. Eric Sorensen is now ahead of Esther Joy King. This is how it's going to be all night long. It's going to go left. It's going to go right. It's going to go left. It's going to go right. And you really can't call a race, but that's what we're seeing right now. So Eric Sorensen still in this one, and no results yet with Mark Ronchetti. Another state where there is a very famous woman who is in TV news, who's running for office, of course, is Carrie Lake. Carrie Lake is running for governor right now. Do we have any numbers on that law right now with the Carrie Lake race? Right now, Carrie Lake is down about 13%. Blake Masters also down quite a bit right now, 17%. Looks like Mark Kelly may hang on to that one, although polls have just recently closed in Arizona. They were extended to be open for a much longer period of time. And one of the counties, Maricopa County, where there's a huge conservative majority, that was one of the counties that had issues earlier on today. So we may be having some delayed results there. But everyone's attention is on the Senate, and there's no one better to talk about the future of the Senate than someone who's ran for Senate himself, Captain Sam Brown, here in the great state of Nevada. And he is joining us in studio right now to talk about the look of the Senate as it stands at the moment. Captain Sam Brown, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Hey, it's good to be here. What an exciting night.
It is an exciting night. Indeed, it is. All right. So right now, a lot of races have not been called, but it's looking like the breakup of the Senate is 43 Dems, 45 for the GOP. We've had some, North Dakota has stayed Republican. South Dakota has stayed Republican. Kansas, Oklahoma, Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, really the Mid-South and the South and the Southeast, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida.
Flyover country, right?
Yeah, flyover country, right? It is all staying red. California, Oregon, as expected, going very blue. Do you think we will meet the threshold tonight and Republicans will take over? Or do you think that the Democrats will hold on to the Senate?
It's still an early night, and with folks across the country talking about we might not know some of these races for several days. I'm going to go ahead and take a wild, sort of projection here and say that I do think we pick up the Senate, and I think it honestly comes down to Nevada. I think Adam Laxalt will be number 51, and that right here, a campaign that so many of us here in the state of Nevada have worked hard on, including myself, that this is going to be the key to the Republican majority in the Senate.
Absolutely. When you heard the news that J.D. Vance had won in Ohio, was that something that you were, I'm sure it's something you were hopeful for. Was it something that you were expecting was going to go your way? Or go the Republicans' way, I
was expecting J.D. Vance to win. Earlier in the evening, it looked a lot tighter than I expected, but, that was a seat that that was never really supposed to be in play, in theory, pre-primary. So for Ryan to make it as competitive as he did was, kudos to him. And I heard, one pundit say tonight, he's kind of created a playbook for Democrats on how to run an effective race against Republicans. And I think that's something that Republicans really need to take note of in the future.
So what do you think about Arizona right now? That's our neighbor to the east, of course. And it looks like Mark Kelly may win this one. I know a lot of people were thinking that Carrie Lake was going to kind of carry Blake Masters. It's still too early to call, but on a lot of the maps, they're kind of shading it a light shade of blue, meaning they think it's going to go their way. What do you think? What do you feel is going on in Arizona? There's so much a sister state to us. There's so many similarities between us two. What do you think was going on there?
Well, I mean, this has always been sort of the Everest of the pickup races. Honestly, Mark Kelly has got a storied personal history, tied in with his wife as well. He's been a colossus when it comes to fundraising, This was never going to be an easy pickup. And so I do think the night is still young. I've got to admit, I don't know all of their reporting exactly, but I did hear on the way over that it may have been that what we are hearing does not include a lot of today's results yet. So look, I think it's best for us to kind of just hold tight and see what happens. All the polling indicated that Blake Masters was pulling it into a much tighter race here in the closing week.
Certainly is still early in the evening, and a lot of races still yet to be decided. They're changing kind of as we speak as more and more results come in. A lot of people wonder, though, Captain Sam Brown, are you going to put your hat in once again and maybe run for Senate in 2024 when Jackie Rosen's seat is up?
Oh, goodness. Well,
put you on the spot there, didn't I?
You really did. No decisions have been made on that. Honestly, I never left a campaign trail. Finished up a primary and rolled straight into campaigning for Adam Laxalt, Joe Lombardo, April Becker, and some of our other terrific candidates here in Nevada. And so, my wife and I, in fact, my wife Amy has been on the campaign trail for some of these candidates as well. This has been a family endeavor and a mission, and one that's far too important for us to go, worrying about things down the road. And so I'm just looking forward to spending some time with my wife and kids this holiday season. We'll let 24 and other stuff figure itself out down the road.
Absolutely. Well, the holidays will be here before you know it. So I hope you have a fabulous Thanksgiving and a fabulous Christmas and a great new year, no matter what the new year may bring. Captain Sam Brown, thanks so much for joining us here today. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Good to be here.
All right. Well, a little bit later, we'll be checking in with Annie Black as we're going to talk about a lot of the women who have been running for office in 2022. This has definitely been the year of the woman on the right and the left. Even when we're talking about judicial races, like so many here in the great state of Nevada, women have truly, truly dominated. And we always say it's not supposed to be about gender politics, but sometimes it's that way. I'm looking at the state of Oregon right now, where it is still too close to call. You have a woman running as a Democrat, you have a woman running as a Republican, and you have a woman running as an independent for that top job. In the state of Arizona, believe it or not, women have been in the governor's seat, in the gubernatorial seat, more than 5 times. But then in states like Nevada, we've never had a woman at the helm. So is it time for that? Annie Black, what do you say? Is it time that we see more women in office here in the great state of Nevada?
It is time for that. But you know what? I think more important than being a woman is being qualified for the job. I mean, we'd love to see women, but we want to see qualified women.
Absolutely. So let's talk about Arizona for a minute, because Kari Lake has been someone, this was an interesting statistic that I found, that 100% of the media coverage by NBC, CBS, Fox, the big three, the big four, I should say, they have had 100% negative coverage about Kari Lake. 85% of the coverage from the major networks has been negative when it comes to the midterms about Republicans. But Kari Lake has seen the worst of it, and she's really carried herself quite well with that. She is one of those candidates that everyone's had their eyes on, and everyone says, whether you love her or hate her, she's won a great race. What's your take on her?
It's not a surprise that a Republican is getting less media coverage or worse media coverage. I don't think that it's because she's a female. I think it's because she's a conservative, and that's just what we're all used to these days, right? I do think that she's a stellar candidate. I watched an interview of her talking about election deniers, and she whipped out a whole notebook and talked about quoted specifically all the times that Democrats have talked about when elections were stolen. And, it's okay for them to say that, but it's not okay for us to deny an election was legitimate. So I think she's a stellar candidate. I'm surprised at the numbers. I hope that it turns around. But I'm going to say I don't think it's because she's a female. I just think it's because she's a Republican.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, another state where they're going to have their very first female governor is the great state of Arkansas, where Sarah Huckabee Sanders has won election as the first female governor there. She was, of course, a press secretary for President Trump, and her father, Mike Huckabee, was governor there back when I was doing the news there at KIT in the early 2000s. So that's a big win for women today.
Yeah, I think Sarah is fantastic. I mean, I loved her when she worked for President Trump. I think she's going to be great as the first female governor of Arkansas. And you know what? Not just because she's a female, but because she's a conservative and because she's a brilliant person. And I think it's just the cherry on top that she happens to be female.
Now, one of the things Sarah Huckabee Sanders has said she will do if she was elected governor is that she was going to be a very pro-life governor. She was going to keep Arkansas a pro-life state. Arkansas does have an abortion ban, and she's promised to keep that. Now, abortion, because the Democrats, they've really tried to make that a huge issue in the 2022 election. I'm curious what your take on this is. Do you see that more as a women's issue, or do you see it more as a life issue? What is it for you?
I think I see it more as a human issue in general. Like, why do humans not value life? Why do we abort so many babies? I don't think it has anything to do with females as much as the fact that American citizens, as I am one, I can speak to that. We clearly don't value life as much as we need to. And I think that has a lot to do with getting away from church and getting away from the nuclear family and all the things that Democrats and liberals have been pushing us towards or away for a long, long time, which is anti-family, anti-life, a lot of things that we stand for in America. And so, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. I want to talk about another state where we know for sure a woman is going to be winning tonight, and that is the state of Alaska. Polls will not close there for quite some time. This is a very interesting state and a very interesting Senate race, though, for us to take a look at, because Alaska has this weird ranked choice voting. So you've got Murkowski, the sitting senator. She's a Republican. You've got Kelly Tshibaka. She's another Republican seeking re-election who has Trump's endorsement. And then you have a Democrat, Pat Chesbrough. So everyone's pretty confident she's not winning this one. It's either going to be Tshibaka or it's going to be Murkowski. So again, we're going to see another woman in office there as well. I'm wondering what your take is on this race, though, because Murkowski was definitely McConnell's choice, and Tshibaka was definitely Trump's choice. It was a battle of Trump and McConnell. How do you think this one's going to play out?
Hey, I'm going Tshibaka and Trump. I know that's exciting because Tshibaka, who couldn't be excited about that? But, but I love it. I think she's going to pull it off.
One of the interesting things there is they have that ranked choice. And so this is the first year that they've done that. And what that means is you don't really vote for one person, you vote for everyone who's on the ballot. And somebody gets a 1, somebody gets a 2, somebody gets a 3, somebody gets a 4. Well, here in Nevada, we've got ballot question 3. Everybody voted for that. And not only would that open our primaries, but it would also create ranked choice. Just recently, I've seen these things from, I started seeing commercials saying no on 3, that Sisolak hates it, Mastow hates it. And I was wondering when this was going to come out that every politician probably hates this, because I see ranked choice and open primaries in the state of Nevada as one of the worst things that could happen to parties. And it's one of the worst things that could happen to candidates, because it's going to make elections here even more expensive.
Right. I mean, we've seen the commercials where they're portraying this as I'm the independent who can't vote in a primary, and that's what this bill is allegedly going to change. And I think that this is going to go down as something akin to motor voter, where we're going to look back and we're going to wish that we had rallied more against it. I'm actually surprised that I haven't seen more commercials against it. I haven't actually seen one commercial against it. And I think this whole jungle primary concept is a disaster. And I'm actually a little bit afraid that number 3 is going to pass, because we haven't educated people about what it really is.
Question number 1 was one that was also very confusing to a lot of voters. So this question said, do we want to create somewhat of an equal rights amendment that basically said that everyone was going to be treated equally based on their race, their creed, their religion, their skin color, their sexual orientation, or however they sexually identify. And there were quite a few people who said that's the problem they see with this, is it was going to be an attack on women's sports and girls' sports, because it would give transgendered individuals more of a right to compete in that way. Other people say, well, we always have equal rights. You can't discriminate someone based on their gender or their race or their age or their sexual orientation. What was your take on question 1?
I think it's another deceiving question, right? We all want everybody to be treated equally, but it's clear that you can't let a male compete against a female in sports or in a scholarship for college and that be equal, because it's just not equal. It just doesn't add up. So I think it's again, like number 3, question number 1 is misleading to people, because we all want everyone to be treated equally. But I think what ultimately it does is it hurts females.
Yeah, it's definitely concerning to me. I always want there to be equality, but as a mom of two little girls, I would hate to see women's sports endangered. I think a lot of people know that Miss Nevada in the state of Nevada is a transgendered woman, and she is taller than me, she is thinner than me, she is prettier than me, but I can't say that I was born a woman, and maybe I can say she was not. So while I want everyone to feel equal, and I want everyone to have rights and freedoms, and I think you want that as well, we also want to protect women. I've never felt more like a feminist than I have in the year 2022. Would you say the same?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I still wouldn't consider myself a feminist, and I honestly, I have two sons. But I think that it's unfair when you see these female athletes that have been training, for example, have been training their entire lives for these sports. And I'm related to some of them, soccer players and athletes, phenomenal athletes. And you see them just get annihilated by a man who just inherently is able to compete at a totally different level than a female. And that's not a knock at females or males. That's just science. That's just how we're built. So you can't deny the facts that women are not at the same level competition-wise in some of these sports as men.
Right. Well, I always got, I know you were such a fighter during COVID. When they were trying to shut you down, and they kept telling you, you have to believe the science, you have to believe the science. It always amazes me, though, that Democrats don't need to believe the science when it comes to genders, right? They don't believe the science that a baby has a heartbeat at 8 weeks. Do we believe science or don't we, Annie? Sometimes I just don't know anymore.
Well, hey, it's just like elections, right? If a Democrat says an election was stolen, and that's totally acceptable. But if a Republican says it, they are, public enemy number one. So I think with Democrats, it's just whatever fits their particular narrative at the time, and that's what the story is going to be.
Absolutely. Well, Annie, I thank you so much for joining us and giving us your perspective on that. I think it's an important issue, and I'm glad that we got to talk about that. All right. Well, let's talk about some national races while we wait for Chuck Muth to join us. Let's talk about the great state of Louisiana, because we can call that one there right now. Senator Kennedy, probably one of the most colorful senators of all, has easily won re-election there. He is seeking a second term. He has been, it's been 14 years since Louisiana has elected a Democrat. So this one was kind of a lock. You gotta love John Kennedy, though. If you've ever heard him give interviews, he's got a lot of sass to him. Let's put it that way. He raised $36 million for this race, 10 times as much as his Democratic challengers. That is crazy. I have to imagine if there was somebody who had a fondness for John Kennedy, it would have to be Chuck Muth. Am I right on that one, Chuck?
Are we there? I love John Kennedy. This guy, he is so charming. He comes off as just a good old boy from the South, but the man is absolutely brilliant. And his sense of humor and his wit is, I just love the guy. Thank goodness he's going back to the Senate, because we really need him. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about the way the Democrats have played their hand in this 2022 election. Just recently, Maloney, who is the head of the Democratic arm of raising funds for congressional candidates, he's in a tough race in New York right now. I haven't seen the latest numbers there, but he's someone who may go down. He recently said something in an interview about Chef Boyardee, that he realizes that times are tough and people are struggling, and that just means it's time to eat a little Chef Boyardee. Let's listen to that soundbite he gave earlier this week.
Done, and what do you plan to do to help solve our inflation problem?
Yeah, well, I grew up in a family where, if the gas price went up, the food budget went down. So by this time of the week, we'd be eating Chef Boyardee if that budget wasn't going to change, right? So that's what families have to do.
So he's basically saying that's what families have to do. Times are tough. Go and eat some Chef Boyardee. That is one of the reasons why I think we're seeing, particularly in these House races, Democrats losing quite significantly. What would you say, Chuck?
I don't think it's surprising that Democrats are losing a lot of the House seats. And I didn't hear the clip, so I'm not sure what he said, but I heard you mention the Chef Boyardee reference. Actually, I wish more Republicans would talk about things like Chef Boyardee. the average person understands what Chef Boyardee is. And I think if we communicated more at that level with the blue collar, Johnny Lunch Bucket type of voter, Republicans would do a lot better in some of these swing districts. But we're so used to talking above their heads, or we're talking about the 10-point platform for education reform and that sort of thing, instead of talking to people where they live. Republicans need to talk to voters the way the voters talk among themselves at the dinner table. And our team is just so bad at that so often. And I think it costs us a lot of races that we otherwise could win.
Absolutely. Now, we're just looking at the maps and the way things are going this evening, we're seeing that here on the West Coast, quite a few states are going blue. One of the surprising things, of course, not all the results are in right now, but Arizona not looking like a good night for Blake Masters. It may end up being a better night for Mark Kelly, although this race has not been called at the moment. And one of the messages that Democrats have really been saying is that, democracy is potentially dead. They've even had, those pillars of brilliance, Rob Reiner and Michael Moore, talking about the death of democracy. We're going to play a soundbite for the folks at home with Rob Reiner. I think his name was Meatloaf or something? Meathead. What was Rob Reiner's?
All in the Family.
Yeah. He was like Meatloaf or something.
He was a meathead.
Meathead. All right,
Yeah.
Let's see what Meathead had to say about the Republicans.
The other side, reality doesn't mean anything. They're only interested in power, and they're only interested in, and they'll do anything to get the power. They're willing to kill, literally kill, to get the power. You can't have a conversation with them. The only thing we can do is try to hold on to the House, add a couple of Senate seats. It's going to be very hard, but if we don't do that, this might be the last election we have in a democratic democracy, in a democracy.
I know you can't hear what he said, but he basically said that Republicans are willing to kill people, and that if they win and the Democrats don't hold the Senate and the House, that this might be the very last election that we have in a democracy. These kind of talking points absolutely infuriate me. But what say you, Chuck?
Yeah, well, I agree. Michael Moore and Rob Reiner are two of the biggest boobs, in the country. I still, every time I see Michael Moore, the only thing I can think of is the Team America movie that the South Park creators had and made such fun of the guy. I don't know of anyone who takes either one of these idiots seriously. And they have their talking points, what they think is what the American public wants to hear. I don't buy it. I don't see it. I don't know that anybody thinks that democracy is going to end because of this election if Republicans get in control. Usually in this race, what I'm seeing, Michelle, if Republicans are losing seats that they should have won or aren't getting closer than what they should have, it's not because they were necessarily bad candidates or it's a bad election year. They probably just ran a bad campaign. Their messaging strategy was off. I've seen it in a number of races. They should have been talking about inflation and crime and the open border, and they're talking about all kinds of other things that the average person doesn't care about. And when they do talk about those three issues, they don't know how to personalize it. Our consulting class and our candidates really need to start focusing on marketing more than political 10-point platforms.
All right, well, let's bring it back to Nevada then. And you are the campaign commentator for sure. Who do you think has ran the most solid campaign in the great state of Nevada?
I would have to say at this point, I'm going out on a limb because we don't know what the results are going to be. But I've been very impressed with Joe Lombardo's campaign. He had a very difficult time. He had 15 or 16 opponents in the primary. He clearly was not the most conservative candidate in the primary, but I think the majority of voters saw him as being the most conservative candidate who could win. And Republicans in Nevada, Republican voters, were looking for who could win in the general election. Joe Lombardo did all the right things. He got competent campaign help on his campaign. They ran a very good campaign. He raised the money that he needed to raise to indicate that, yes, I can compete against Steve Sisolak. These other candidates can't. Some of the candidates put $1 million of their own money in, but that paled by comparison to the money that Joe Lombardo was able to bring to it. On the campaign trail, I think he threaded the needle extremely well as far as he wasn't a Trump Republican per se, but he was able to get Trump's endorsement, which was huge in the Republican primary. Then in the general election, after they won the primary, it took a little while for him to unite, the clans at the Republican level, but he finally was able to do that. And if anything, I mean, if he wins tonight, it's because not only was he a good candidate, but even more so, I think, because his campaign team did such a good job.
Well, let's talk about the congressional races here in Nevada for a moment. I'll go out on a limb and say I think NV2 is going Republican. That's Mark Amadei's seat up north. But the big question is what's going to happen with the 3 races down south. A lot of people have been saying CD1 is winnable. That's Dina Titus's seat. I'll be honest with you. I was one of those people in the beginning who said, I think y'all are on crack. That's not going to happen, even though the seat has been messed with in redistricting a bit. I did not see a pathway there. A lot of people say I'm wrong. What say you?
I say you're probably right, Michelle. CD1 and CD4, Stephen Horsford's districts, they were competitive, providing there was a big red wave. Now, we haven't seen it around the rest of the country. Maybe it'll still materialize here in Nevada. But I haven't seen it around the rest of the country, and I don't think that it's going to happen here. I've always said that the best chance to pick up a congressional seat in Nevada was CD3. April Becker is an absolute superstar candidate. If there's anyone who is going to win one of those 3 congressional seats in this particular election cycle, it's going to be April Becker. That's the one I'm still holding out hope for.
All right, Anna, it looks like that we can make a call on another race right now. We were talking about the New Mexico race a little while ago. Mark Ronchetti is the Republican there, and he is a former meteorologist. New Mexico is an interesting state, Chuck, because basically it only has one TV market. That's Albuquerque. So Mark Ronchetti was known by the entire state of New Mexico. A lot of people thought Ronchetti could pull this one off, but it does not look like that's the way. It's the incumbent, the Democrat Grisham. It looks like she is taking that one in New Mexico. So if I'm beginning to see a trend here, I'm beginning to see that the West is going blue and flyover country and the East Coast is going very, very red tonight. Are you getting the same sense? And does that make you take a little bit of a pause, a little bit of a hush when it comes to Nevada?
Yeah, when we were talking earlier, Michelle, I noted that the East Coast did not show this giant red wave, or, as some Republicans were hopefully predicting a red tsunami. It didn't happen on the East Coast. Now we're starting to look at the West Coast. It was 5 points, the Republican. He had that high name ID and everything else. I don't know what kind of campaign he ran, but if there was going to be that red wave on the West Coast that we didn't see earlier on the East Coast, somewhere like New Mexico, we would have seen a lot closer race for a candidate like that. And he lost by, or it appears that he's losing by 5 points. So again, I'm hoping that there's difference here in Nevada, or it's not going to be a good night for Republicans here in Nevada. But somewhere like New Mexico like that, if there really was that red wave, the Republican, if he didn't win, should have been a lot closer.
So I think you can see on the screen as well here in the studio that Carrie Lake is down quite a bit to Hobbs, the current Secretary of State. She's got 56%, Carrie Lake 43%. Now, right now, that's only about 48% reporting. So we still half of the state to go. But this was a race that I would beg to say, a lot of Republicans were feeling pretty darn good about that race. What was your take?
Yeah, nothing against our man, Joe Lombardo, but I mean, Carrie Lake, I would love to see Carrie Lake in office. She is a brilliant campaign person as a candidate. Her ability to deal with the media has just been phenomenal. Her campaign team was terrific. The thing about the race there in Arizona where they're showing that Carrie Lake is behind, what we don't know is where the outstanding votes are. And usually in a race in a state like Arizona, you're probably seeing a lot of votes that are not in yet from the rural areas, just like Nevada. You cannot go to bed tonight if some Republicans are behind in statewide races, unless you know where the rural votes are. And a lot of times they come in late. So I'm not giving up on Carrie Lake yet. But again, it shows us again, if there was a red wave that was going to hit the West Coast, Carrie Lake should be a lot closer right now than what she is. It's not over, obviously, but I really do wish that she was a lot closer than what she is right now. I'd rather be ahead than behind, obviously.
Yeah, and just looking at the numbers in Georgia, that is just a dead heat. Both Warnock and Walker at 49% apiece. There is literally there's not even 100 votes basically between them. I'm sorry, I'm a liar. The difference is 1,800 votes. 89% in. I'm going to be a betting woman here, Chuck, and I'm going to say it's going to a runoff.
You're probably right. There's the third party candidate, the Libertarian candidate there, probably will take just enough votes away from Herschel Walker to force the runoff to keep him under 50% so that there's not a runoff. We saw it 2 years ago. They had not one, but two runoff U.S. Senate seats there with Warren. It's a shame that it has to be that way. And again, I know I'm beating a dead horse, but if there was a red wave, Herschel Walker should have won this hands down 50% plus. He hasn't yet. There's still a chance that he might. We don't know where the votes are that haven't come in yet. But it does look, I'm with you, Michelle. I think it's probably going to go to a runoff.
And as I'm noticing, just looking at all of these races, there's something that I'm seeing a running thread through all of this, and that is the power of incumbency. And I don't think we talk about that enough. You know, look at New Hampshire, where Maggie Hassan, she's the incumbent. Yeah, she kicked Bolduc's butt. You know, a lot of people had hoped that Bolduc was going to do something. It didn't really happen. Governor Stitt in Oklahoma, people thought the Democrats were going to win there. Nope. The Republican, the incumbent, hangs on to see a better day. Greg Abbott hangs on to see a better day. Where it's interesting, though, to me is you've got a state like Georgia where Kemp, you know, beats Stacey Abrams handedly. But, you know, Herschel Walker's not able to push over. You know, over the past couple of days, I've noticed a lot of people saying like, oh, I don't know if the Senate's going to go this way anymore. And yeah, it's a quality candidate thing. Are we seeing that right now, that maybe Herschel Walker, Dr. Oz, Blake Nass, were these guys not the best candidates? Not to be the Monday morning quarterback and to just be a jerk, but were they not the best choices?
Yeah. You know, they're kind of mixed on this. I get it. As a political consultant, I recognize that celebrity sells.
Yeah.
Our population, our voters, people love celebrities. So yes, Dr. Oz and Herschel Walker had very high name ID because they were, quote, celebrities. So that's important. But you got to go beyond just a celebrity. It's kind of like, Michelle, that volcano in front of the barrage. The volcano is there for the purpose of grabbing people's attention. Once you get their attention, though, and they come inside, there's got to be something backing up that volcano to cause people to stay there. And I think with especially Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania, yeah, he had the celebrity. He had the Trump endorsement. It got him through the primary. But you need to be more than that. And I don't know that somebody like Dr. Oz, when the base of the Republican Party, the conservatives of the Republican Party, looked at some of the things that Dr. Oz has said in the past on issues of strong importance to conservative voters, the base probably was not enthusiastic about coming out and supporting Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania. And if so, if he loses Pennsylvania, it will be because of that problem with the base. So yeah, the celebrity is great. You know, I'm all for it. I get it as a marketing guy that celebrity sells, but you got to have something more than that. All you're doing with celebrity is grabbing attention. Then you got to back it up behind that.
Absolutely. So one last question before we go and take a commercial break. You know, I'm already seeing some of the comments on our stream tonight. People are saying, oh, well, are we just going to pretend the Democrats don't cheat? I think this is an important issue that we need to talk about because, you know, you've got the Democrats like Biden and Obama and others who are saying, you know, we're going to lose democracy if Republicans win because they're so concerned that Republicans, you know, cheat and don't keep their word. And then, of course, Republicans really do have concerns about election integrity. I hate where we are right now, Chuck. I don't think where we are right now is a good place. I don't think it's a healthy place. I don't think it's a good place for going off in the future. And if we don't have a red wave here tonight, I think that almost confirms it. We're in a really bad place. What say you? And do you think that everyone needs to accept the results of this election?
If you want to blame this on election irregularities, unless you can prove it and back it up, I don't want to hear it. That's just loser's limp. And I'm pretty sick and tired of hearing it too. I'm neither a conspiracy theorist nor a conspiracy denier. If there is, and then look, we have a lot of problems with our election system, the way the Democrats have set it up. Automatic mail-in balloting is a horrible, horrible idea. We had someone living in our house, friend of my daughter's, years ago, who's still getting a ballot mailed to our house. Now, we didn't vote it, obviously, but I'll guarantee you, if there are other people out there around the state who get a ballot that doesn't belong to them, but it's in their mailbox, they're going to go ahead and send it in. Now, that's just a fact. But you got to be able to prove it. You can't just make these allegations without doing the hard work it takes to back it up. Now, we did this 20-some years ago. We believe that there was election fraud. We did the hard work of going to the location, going to the address and verifying whether someone actually lived there or not. And we actually had someone convicted for ballot fraud because of it some 20 years ago. The Republican Party here has not done the hard work. They've simply thrown out these wild allegations. We've got 120,000 pieces of evidence in 2020 of ballot fraud, but they never they presented to the court. They dropped off those boxes to the Secretary of State's office, but they never released it to the public. Now, why not? If you really have 120,000 examples of voting fraud, including, I think it was 15,000 supposed dead people, maybe it was 1,500, I forget the figure. But if you really have it, why not release that information to the public so we can verify it? So if we, and don't want to forget this, in 2020, remember, Donald Trump lost Nevada by about 33,000 votes. But 100,000 registered Nevada Republicans stayed home and did not cast a ballot. So even if all 33,000 of those votes were fraudulent votes, if all the registered Republicans who didn't vote had shown up and voted, Donald Trump would have still won Nevada. So Nevada Republican Party, focus on get out the vote. Stop this stuff where you're just bragging about how many doors you knocked on, and doing lit drops. Let's go ahead and get a real get out the vote effort to make sure that if they haven't voted by 3 o'clock on election day, you're actually sending somebody to their house and knocking on the door and saying, come on, let's go get in the car. We need your vote. The Nevada Republican Party needs to do a better job at get out the vote.
All right. I agree with you. I agree with you 100%, Chuck. All right. We'll check in with you a little bit later on in the evening. Before we go to commercial, though, I do want to check in with Raven and Eric. I believe they are down in the ballroom. Guys, what's going on in the ballroom right now? Is excitement? Oh, well, there we go. Is excitement still at an all-time high?
Yeah, Michelle, sorry for that. Yeah, absolutely. This place is packed to no end. We just had Michelle Fiore get up and speak. People aren't leaving. They're excited. And I'm telling you, the room will shut down the minute we see or hear of any type of Republican win. It's incredible down here.
Yeah, everyone's super happy again. The only thing is that we're not going to get the results until Wednesday or Thursday. So people are pretty irked about that, but they were expecting it. So it's still pretty lively. No surprises there.
So they're really just enjoying the night as opposed to enjoying results in Nevada, because it does appear it's going to be a while before we're calling any races here in Nevada. At least I don't think anything will be called until Wednesday, probably not until Saturday when all those ballots are caught. But that's not changing anyone's mood down there at all.
No, you're exactly right. We've spoken to quite a few members here, and they're not going anywhere. They don't care that we may or may not hear results tonight. They're enjoying the night. They're partying. They are very confident, and there's absolutely no doubt in their mind that this red wave is taking over Nevada, and that we're going to flip this state to bold red. I mean, we're excited here.
All right. Well, that is good news to hear. We'll check back with you in a little bit. But right now, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll have more coverage of election 2022, the midterms, right after this break. Election Night 2022 on GRABET TV is brought to you in part by the Nevada Republican Club, bringing Republicans together since 1981.
At Jersey Mike's, they slice your order fresh right in front of you. And let me tell you, watching that can send a rush of emotions through a person. Excitement, impatience, baby-like wonder, indecisive, anticipatory chewing, nerves pacing, happy claps, and finally, jealousy, because that's this guy's sub. I should order one. Good idea.
Sliced right in front of you. It's a Jersey Mike's thing. A sub above.
The body you've always dreamed of is just a text away thanks to Modern Body and Beauty in Las Vegas. The perfect you without needles, knives, or even exercise. Use the power of science to shrink your waistline, erase your cellulite, and trim your arms. Get real results really fast at Modern Body and Beauty. Text fast results right now for instant savings. Get the body you've always wanted naturally. No knives, no needles, no dieting. with modern body and beauty. A better you is only a text away.
I'm the latest hashtag challenge, and everyone on social media is trying me. I'm trending so hard that hashtag common sense can't keep up.
This is gonna get tens and tens of views. But if you don't have the right auto insurance coverage, you could be left to pay for this yourself.
Get Allstate and be better protected from mayhem for a whole lot less.
You found the right model.
For sure.
Now, how can you be sure you're getting the right deal?
I have to talk to my bestie.
Hey, girl. This one's like your last boyfriend. It's got issues.
Let's ask the experts. For the right used car, just say, show me the Carfax value. You'll get the most accurate price based on the vehicle's accident history. Look for me and stop overpaying. Shop at the all-new Carfax.com.
Newest thing from Pizza Hut isn't pizza at all. It's cheesy, so crispy, loaded with toppings, and just $6.99. Enough for two, price for one. New Pizza Hut melts, just $6.99.
I be like,
We love our pets, but we don't always love their hair. Let's face it, pets are gonna shed every minute of every day, which is why we made Bounce Pet Hair and Lint Guard with 3 times the pet hair fighting ingredients. Just toss one sheet in the dryer to help remove pet hair from your clothes. So go ahead, keep cuddling these guys. Looking good starts in the dryer with Bounce Pet.
Red loved visiting Grandma's house, and after saving big at Amazon, she was ready for those uninvited guests. Shop legendary deals at Amazon.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to GRABET TV and Western Journal's coverage of Election Night 2022, the midterms, sponsored by the Nevada Republican Club. We're so glad that you can join us here today. Right now, we want to take some time to look at all of the races that have been happening across the country. We want to take a look at the governor election results first. So let's start. We'll start on the West Coast. Why not? As you can see, in California, Governor Newsom has easily won against Republican Dolly. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. He was a state senator up north in the Lassen kind of Eureka area. He wasn't a very well-known Republican in any way, shape, or form, and really just never had a chance. Of course, as many people know, Governor Newsom is considering becoming running for. Oh, and we have results coming in Nevada slowly. All right. Let's go ahead and we've got some breaking news. All right. I'm assuming that's from the Secretary of State's page. Yes. All right. So can we start with, what can you pull up for me? Do you want to do ballot questions first? That's fine. I'll do ballot questions first. Ballot questions. Okay. State question number 1. It looks like right now the no's outnumber the yeses, but this is very, 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 very early results. We're only looking at about 6,706 votes for no, 4,361 votes for yes. So this is very, very early preliminary results. That's the Equal Rights Amendment. State question number 2 also appears to be failing. Can somebody tell me, are these numbers from up north? Yes, they are numbers from up north. Are they numbers from rules, or are they numbers from Washoe?
Mineral County, Churchill.
Mineral County and Churchill. So this is a Republican stronghold that we're looking at right now. So the fact that these have all failed is not that unusual whatsoever. Let's take a look at the U.S. Senate race now, if we can. That is between Adam Laxalt and Catherine Cortez Masto. In these rural counties, it looks like it's a good night for Adam Laxalt with 69% of the votes so far. Again, I want to preface with everyone, these are immensely early results, only showing some of the most rural counties in Nevada. So this is not a surprise that of the 7,895 votes total that Adam Laxalt is running away with it. Let's now go to the House of Representatives. It will probably show some numbers for Mark Amodei and in CD4 with Sam Peters and Horsford. Again, this is where the Republicans like this should be winning. Mark Amodei is definitely going to win. He's the incumbent. I don't know that anyone even knows who Elizabeth Krause is. But in Congressional District 4, this is one that people have had their eyes on. Can Sam Peters pull it off? So first off, I'm going to tell you, Sam Peters was going to win the rules no matter what. But the rural part of CD4 is the smallest part of CD4. So the real question is when these Clark County numbers come in, because the stronghold, the way the district is built, there is such an advantage of Democrats in the southern part of the district that it is a difficult win for any Republican. Let's go now to the statewide races, shall we, Spence? Take a look at these early Nevada numbers. Again, in the rules, as expected, Joe Lombardo running away with it there. Stavros Anthony, we are expecting a Stavros Anthony win tonight. He has been leading in double digit in the polls. And as you can see all the way down, we've got Jim Marchant ahead, Michelle Fiore ahead, Andy Matthews ahead, and Segal ahead. This is exactly what I would expect from these rural counties. Rudy Pamantuan, you are the president of the Nevada Republican Club. I'm sure this is exciting first numbers for you as well. But again, this is the strongest Republican stronghold of the district as well, Rudy.
Yeah, you know what? I am really hopeful. It's early on, but I'm really excited because, we know where the rules are going. But when you look at Clark County, where there's a high concentration of Democrat votes, we're seeing that the Democrats are just not coming out to vote. Now, we had a lot of rain today, so I'm sure that had a big impact. But we're seeing Republicans overperforming and doing what is expected. And I think that's what's going to make the difference in the final results. Everything's going to be really close, but I think especially when it comes to the statewide, I think Republicans are going to come out on top.
Absolutely. What do you think of the 2-to-1 advantage that Republicans had in election day votings? I mean, traditionally, Republicans go out on election day. Do you think that's a good thing? Do you think that's a bad thing? What are your tea leaves telling you?
I think it's a good thing. A little bit of it was very expected, right? When you think about historically speaking, in a midterm election, the opposing party with who's in the White House usually picks up seats in the midterm. But I talk about the big three, looking what's happening with the economy, when it comes to crime, when it comes to public education failures. We're seeing that we're seeing a multitude of factors that are lending itself in such an environment that makes it ripe for great Republican victories. And so it's no surprise that we're outperforming the Democrats 2-to-1. And I think when the final vote is counted, we're going to see huge Republican wins throughout the state of Nevada.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How are you feeling about Arizona right now? That's an interesting one. It looks like Carrie Lake is down. It looks like Blake Masters is down. It appears to me that Arizona is going blue. Are you surprised by this information? I'm
actually surprised. I haven't seen the numbers. Do you know how much of the precincts have reported? Are we talking a lot?
We're talking about 50% of the precincts at this point.
You know what? I'd still kind of wait and see what happens. I know the border issue is a big issue. The open borders. I mean, America's seeing close to 5 million illegal immigrants coming across the border, many through Arizona. The folks in Arizona are just upset about this, right? So although it may look close and it may look like Republicans aren't doing so well, it's still early on in the way I look at it. I still think that we're going to call Arizona Carizona after election night.
All right, we're going to take a look at some of the Clark County results that are coming in now in the congressional House races. Spence, feel free to keep these up in a split screen because a lot of people are interested in these, and we're going to go over them with you now, Rudy. We'll start with Congressional District 1. At the moment, with 146,000 votes in, it does look like Mark Robertson is a bit behind with Dina Titus at 54%. I'm trying to see how many are reporting at the moment. Does anyone see that number? They're not really saying, so I don't know. This just must be the mail-in dump. That's what I'm guessing for Clark County. It's the mail votes and the early election votes. We go down to CD3, April Becker at 45%, Susie Lee at 54%. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is definitely mail because Democrats have been outperforming Republicans throughout the state when it comes to mail. And then in CD4, Horsford's up at 57%, St. Peter's down at 42. Just your initial take on these initial Clark County numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're going to notice is those numbers are reflecting early votes, mail-in votes, right? But as we know, historically speaking, the Democrats come out to vote early on, and with the mail-in, we see Republicans tend to favor voting later in the early voting process and on election day. And so these numbers may seem high for Democrats. I think that number is going to shrink. I think what's going to happen is we're going to find Republicans across the board, especially for the congressional seats, they're going to do really well. So let's see what happens in the next hour as they continue to count ballots. I sense that the Democrat numbers are going to start to shrink and Republicans are going to start taking over.
All right, let's take a look at some of these assembly races, just because we're getting some numbers in there right now. Looks like well, let's go to some key assembly races that we've been following. We'll start with Assembly District 2, where it looks like Haiti Kasama at the moment has a little bit of a lead there. Of course, this is all still far too early to call. Are there any assembly seats that you're particularly interested in? Because Rudy, I can go to those directly.
You know what? The Fleming Larson is a great assembly
That's
seat.
12, correct?
Correct.
Okay, right now at 12, of course, this is all just your mail-in voting, which of course is going to be your Democrat voters. Fleming is a bit behind at 48%. Max Carter, the Democrat, running there at 51%. But just to give you some perspective, this is only counting 13,000 votes.
It's only calling 13,000 votes. And you know what? Although it shows a couple percentage that he is down, Fleming has been working this district hard. Keep in mind, this district is a couple digit percentage leaning Democrat, but the tide is turning. He's been out there working hard every day, knocking on doors, focusing on independent voters and soft Democrats. And I think this is going to be a surprising result. Earlier on this evening, we had Annie Black, former Assemblywoman, talking about her surprise candidate who will turn it around and bring a surprise victory. I think there's great things in store for Fleming Larson's district.
Absolutely. All right. I want to talk to you about Assembly District 34, 35, and 36. Right now, with the mail-in votes, it looks like Shannon Bilbray Axelrod has a commanding lead in District 34, but of course, that's again only 14,000 votes. In 35, it looks like Michelle Gorlow is ahead of Tiffany Jones. Mindy Robinson only taking in 2.64% of the vote. But a lot of people were concerned about this race in particular, Rudy, because you know, Mindy could have really thrown a wrench in there. At the moment, again, we're only looking at 16,000 votes. This is all mail. Let me stress this again for everybody watching. Absolutely nothing from today's voting is being shown. This is what came in through mail ballots. But it's not looking great. But it's still early. So let's remind everyone of that, Rudy.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Tiffany Jones is she was running a very impressive campaign. I mean, here she is, a mom, small business owner. She has been very disciplined, knocking on doors every day. You know, when it comes to assembly races in the state of Nevada, it can be won or lost simply with hard work. And she has really run a very well-disciplined campaign, really focusing on knocking on doors every day. And her social media campaign and approach to addressing social media has been a little bit more cutting edge than your average assembly candidate. And so I think this will be a close one. I think that having a third party involved in this campaign throws a little bit of a wrench in it, but I think Tiffany's going to come out on top.
Well, there's one race we can call. It's Assembly District 36. We had Assemblyman Greg Hafen here earlier. The only one in the race. That's one going for the Republican side. I do want to talk to you quickly about Assembly District 37. Of course, with the mail-in votes, 22,000 votes showing so far. Shea Bacchus is ahead of Jacob DeVille. This is another one of those races where you had a libertarian in there, not going to take much of the vote, but that 1.38% can make a difference. But what I really want to talk to you is the makeup of Assembly District 37, because redistricting really changed this district. This was very much a swingy district before redistricting. Now with redistricting, it's 34% Democrat, 34% other, and 31% Republican. That's Assembly District 37. So some of these that could have been easier wins may not be. Although I want to stress again, this is just your mail-in voting, which is predominantly Democratic. What's your take on this?
You know what? This is going to be an interesting seat to look at because as you shared the numbers, we're calling this a swing seat, right? And this seat and this election is really important, not just for this election cycle, but it kind of forecasts what's going to happen in future election cycles. So the final tally will help strategists decide how do they approach attacking the assembly in the next election cycle and what issues are going to be important in the upcoming legislature. So this is definitely a district and a race that's one to watch tonight. And I think, Jacob has been out campaigning hard. He's a hard worker. We'll see how it goes, but I'm feeling very hopeful about it.
All right, I want to switch gears with you for a moment. And if you're watching at home, you're like, why is Michelle carrying this like giant thing? This is called the election binder, folks. If you want to know who's running and you want to know the districts, you want to know what the makeup is, you go to the binder. So it's officially binder time. But I want to talk about the county commission races. You did a great series with the Nevada Republican, Meet the Candidates. And one of the candidates you did an interview with was Drew Johnson. This was someone that you had a lot of hope for who could possibly take on Justin Jones. Justin Jones has been under a lot of scrutiny lately for his pay-to-play, quid pro quo behavior and his situation with the Red Rock deal. But at the moment, as we're looking at County Commission District F, 72,000 votes in at the moment. I would say Justin Jones has a significant lead at 52%.
You know what? It's definitely a race to watch. The National Review recently did an article on this. So there's a lot of national attention on this local race.
Well, he works for the National Review, does he not?
I mean, that definitely
so that doesn't mean it's getting national attention.
Well, I mean, you have to look at it this way, right? It's the classic Justin Jones, the ultimate political insider, small town politics in Nevada versus a newcomer that comes from a background of conservatism. It's a classic battle between the changes that are happening with the new population that's moving in. And so in that respect, it's kind of an interesting one to watch. Let's wait to see what happens. I mean, Justin has a commanding lead right now. You never know what happens, but let's put it this way. I think that Drew Johnson has run an incredible campaign. He's someone to watch. He's a fresh face with good ideas wrapped around transparency. I'm still very hopeful in this particular one. It's going to be really tight. Let's see what happens. But regardless of the outcome, Drew Johnson is going to be someone to watch moving forward.
All right, let's talk about Senate District 8. That is Joey Paulos against Maryland Dondero Loop. Right now, we've got 34% of the vote reporting. That's about 35,000 votes. Maryland Dondero Loop is definitely in the lead. This is still very early. And Senate 9, where your friend Tina Brown is running right now, Melanie Scheibel coming in with about 55% of the vote. These were two of the seats that everyone was really hoping we could win. Melanie Scheibel, though, an up-and-coming member of the Democratic Party. In fact, many people are looking to her to run for CD3 should April Becker win, since she is expected to take down Lee tonight. So they are looking to her as a hopeful. What do you look at these? I want to give you some numbers as well. Senate District 8, where Paulos is, it's the independents outnumber the Democrats and the Republicans in that state. So as District 8 is 37% independent, 33% Democrat, and 30% Republicans. That means in order to win here, you've got to win a lot of the nonpartisans, Rudy.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think on the messaging and where they stand, knowing Tina and Joey really well, they're right where they need to be with what's going on across the nation, right? But the Democrats in this state have spent millions of dollars in negative ads attacking all the challengers, challengers running for state Senate, challengers running for the assembly, millions of dollars spent on negative ads on them. And so I think that especially when it comes to the Democrat vote, I think we're seeing a lot of these early results favoring the Democrats. But I think as the votes are being tabulated later on with the early votes towards the second half and the actual votes during Election Day, I think we'll start to see a wave that leans red. The question is, how much more? I still think these will be close. I'm still feeling very hopeful with these two state Senate candidates, and the next hour will give us a better indication of where we're at.
All right, let's take a look at Senate District 12. Forgive me as I'm flipping the binder here. That's Sherilyn Arrington against Julie Ann Thazina. So this is a district that has been redrawn. The independents, the nonpartisans, are 39% of the district. The Democrats are 34% of the district, and the Republicans 28. I don't know why people thought this was winnable, because I was one of those who never thought this was winnable. The Republicans are just too outnumbered over here.
Yeah, what's interesting is Arrington. I mean, she won in the primary. A lot of it had to do with the fact that she has great name ID because she has run for office in that area. It'll be interesting to watch. But yeah, I do agree. A lot of the insiders really looked at this race as a targeted race. It'll be interesting what happens as the numbers start coming in.
All right. So it looks like at the moment, there has been a call made in the state of Pennsylvania. This is definitely not a call that Republicans were hoping to hear. This is in the Senate race there, Spence, where John Fetterman is taking on Dr. Oz. 83% of the vote is in. And they are saying that Fetterman has won with 49.4% of the vote. Rudy, you and I do a fun little live every single Friday. We have talked about this Fetterman-Oz race ad nauseum. And I want to say I'm shocked. And at the same time, I want to say I'm not, because they freaking started early voting September 19th. And they did not do a debate until right before Halloween. I'm disappointed. That's what I'm going to say, Rudy.
Well, let's put it this way. There's no question that the Democrats rallied around Fetterman, knowing full well the importance of this state, the importance of this Senate seat, and also looking at the presidential primary elections next cycle. They know Pennsylvania is a must-win state, so they had to win this seat. Now, it's interesting, right? He had a stroke, which is unfortunate, but you look at the timing of when he had the stroke, how he campaigned on and really wasn't widely accessible, right? And when he finally did a debate, it was after so much time has passed for early voting. And so this is interesting. I don't even know where we are in the Senate count. Michelle, do we even know where we are in terms of Senate seats?
Yes. Let me tell you. Okay, so right now they're saying that there are 46 seats for the GOP and 45 for the Dems. So they have not called Nevada or Arizona, but they are coloring them blue at the moment. And Utah, I don't know why they haven't called Utah, because I'm looking at the screen right now. Mike Lee has 55% of the vote. I think they should call it for him. You know what? I can share this screen. Look at me. I can be smart.
Yeah, but what's interesting is it makes you stop and say, because the national focus really was on Nevada, right? Depending on what happens with the Laxalt race would dictate where the Senate goes. And so it makes you stop and say, did they assume we would lose Pennsylvania, right? Now everything, the future of the Senate and the Republican Party now lies on the state of Nevada and Arizona. So the West is going to dictate where this nation goes.
Okay, I'm bear with me here. It's always hard when results start coming in, because you have to kind of just figure out what the heck's going on here.
And there's so much excitement. I mean, we've got all kinds of campaign.
I know Heidi Cassima just came in. Heidi Cassima is here. We're going to talk with her in a minute.
She looks fantastic, by the way. She always does.
Trying to figure out why they are projecting. Okay, I have figured this out now. So with 34% of the vote reporting in Clark County, Catherine Cortez Masto has 55%, but they're not counting in the rules and the Secretary of State numbers. So we've got a battle of numbers right now. Clark County is reporting all the mail-in ballots. The Secretary of State's office is only Churchill, Mineral County. I mean, those are the reddest of the rules, but the numbers are not even here. So I think it's a little premature to be calling anything in Nevada. Well, unless we're talking about Assembly District 2, where Heidi Cassima is easily winning re-election there. Heidi, welcome to the big show.
Thank you. And thank you for being here and having this live. This is just so exciting to be here with everybody. And
are they even watching it next door? You were at the party next door.
Oh, yeah,
they're
watching. Absolutely.
Okay.
They're watching. Yes. We would not miss you.
You would not. Oh, Heidi, you are being super nice right now, sister. All right. With 34% reporting, you're at 51%. Tell me, what are your hopes for the assembly, whether you guys win the majority, whether there's a red wave tonight or not? What is it that you're hoping to do in the assembly in 2023, since I know you'll be there?
Well, thank you for asking. I would love to see that we had a red wave in the assembly and we get into the majority. I think that's going to be a little bit difficult, but I think we have a chance to pick up a few seats. We want to be a little bit stronger so that we have people sitting at the table so that we can, we need to roll back some of the Democrat policies, some of the anti-police, some of the election bills that have gone through, some of the education reforms that have gone through. I think we need to be, working on rolling some of those back. Obviously, we want to make some changes to election security. One of the things I believe we need to do, whether you're a Republican governor or Democrat governor, we need time limits on the emergency powers.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. We can't have somebody going for a year without, we can't just have one person in control. We need to go back to the legislature.
Let me ask you this. Greg Hafen and I talked about this, probably a year ago, in that the hope would be that it wasn't the Assembly or the Senate that would pursue the issue of executive powers with the governor, but that if Joe Lombardo wins, that the governor himself would then take issue with that. Because right now, the way the Constitution is written, man, they can call an emergency and have executive powers till, whenever. Aren't we still under emergency?
No, that was finally,
okay.
that was finally, stopped. But to your point, originally emergency powers were really, I think, more set for natural disasters. I think originally is what it was set for. We had tremendous flooding, we had wildfires, and you need somebody at the helm to make a decision quickly. And I agree with that. Sometimes you just can't have, 63 people trying to make a decision quickly. So that makes sense, but there's got to be a time limit on it.
100%.
And you got to come back to the legislature and say, we're a body working together. Let's figure out what's best for the state with this. So those are some of the things I'd like to see the Assembly Republican Caucus work on.
Now, I know the caucus will be meeting in about a week or so when everything is said and done and final and choosing new leadership. And I will say that I've heard quite a few people mention your name as someone that they would love to see as the leader of the caucus, the leader of the assembly there. Is that something you're even interested in?
So I am interested in serving as leader, but it's a vote of the people. Just like we're having our election now, it's the vote of the people. And so that will be up to the people that are officially elected, that come to serve. And I hope I garner their support. I would certainly be honored to do so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Haiti, I just can't thank you enough for coming in and joining our little show here tonight.
Oh, it's such a pleasure.
It's great having you, and we wish you an amazing 2023. And we hope that we can be a part of it so that we can keep people informed about what's going on in the assembly. I know you struggle with this as well. You guys get up there, you're there for 4 months, a lot is done. And until, the last week of May, the media is not even paying attention to you. So nobody knows what's going on the entire time. And we want to change that and keep people very
thank you,
informed.
because the laws that we pass, I would say this, the state laws that we pass, other than federal income taxes, probably have the most impact on our lives in the state. And you're right, people, I'll admit, quite a few years ago, I didn't know who my assembly person was. So I understand that, but we enact the laws, we pass them, and they have a huge consequence. And so, watch what your elected officials are doing, and reach out to them with your thoughts and what you'd like to see for the state. And I welcome your reaching out to me as well.
100%. All right. Well, Haiti, thank you so much for joining us here today. We'll be keeping our eye on you. It is about a little after 10 o'clock right now. So here's what we're going to do. All these results are coming in. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and hopefully we'll get to do a deep dive on all the results so far after that. So we'll see you in a quick minute. Thanks for joining us. Election Night 2022 on GRABET TV is brought to you in part by the Nevada Republican Club, bringing Republicans together since 1981.
When you get Domino's delivered, you can get any 2 or more mix and match items for $6.99 each. And now we're adding $6.99 Parmesan bread bites. And what happened to the other lava cake?
Sebastian? Yeah, that's weird.
Get 2 or more mix and match items delivered for $6.99 each.
You found the right model.
For sure.
Now, how can you be sure you're getting the right deal?
I have to talk to my bestie.
Hey, girl. This one's like your last boyfriend. It's got issues.
Let's ask the experts. For the right used car, just say, show me the Carfax value. You'll get the most accurate price based on the vehicle's accident history. Look for me and stop overpaying. Shop at the all-new Carfax.com.
Newest thing from Pizza Hut isn't pizza at all. It's cheesy, so crispy, loaded with toppings, and just $6.99. Enough for two, price for one. New Pizza Hut melts, just $6.99.
I be like,
We love our pets, but we don't always love their hair. Let's face it, pets are gonna shed every minute of every day, which is why we made Bounce Pet Hair and Lint Guard with 3 times the pet hair fighting ingredients. Just toss 1 sheet in the dryer to help remove pet hair from your clothes. So go ahead, keep cuddling these guys. Looking good starts in the dryer with Bounce Pet.
Red loved visiting Grandma's house, and after saving big at Amazon, she was ready for those uninvited guests. Shop legendary deals at Amazon.
Want to learn to scuba dive? Need swimming lessons for your kids? Then you need to check out Stone Sports in Las Vegas, right off Fort Apache and Tropicana. At Stone Sports, they teach the young and the young at heart. Whether you're looking for fun, fitness, or competitions, Stone Sports is the place for you and your entire family. Give them a call today at 702-779-3021, 702-779-3021, or check them out online at stonesports.net. Stone Sports, where water safety and water fun meet.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to GRABET TV and Western Journal's coverage of Election 22, the midterms. We are finally getting some results in here in the state of Nevada, and I hope that you will bear with us because we're bringing you those results now, but we're still diving over the information to see what all of this means. And Law, since you're better at this than I, it looks like we're seeing numbers from Churchill, and we're seeing numbers from Clark, and we're seeing numbers from Mineral. And Annie, maybe you can confirm this for me as well. This is all the mail-in early numbers, correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, so what we're seeing right now with the mail-in ballots, we see that with the Clark numbers coming in, right now the Democrats are dominating when it comes to early mail. Steve Sisolak has 53%, and Lieutenant Governor 51%. Cisco Aguilar, it just goes on. But this does not count today's votes at all, does it? Am I right on that? You were just in the other room, so you might have more information than I do.
I honestly do not have any more information than you from the other room, but that is my understanding. And from what we've been telling everyone in Mesquite, and I think that's been the consensus across the state, is to tell all Republicans to wait until Election Day to vote. And I think that I know personally, I voted today and the line was long when I went and voted. Rain and snow and all that cold weather didn't seem to be stopping people from voting. So hopefully, fingers crossed, all the Republicans turned out today as we were planning. And we're going to see those returns later after these mail-in ballots show up.
Right. Now, it seems that the West Coast reporting, I mean, the fact that we're seeing any numbers here at 10 o'clock, I think is immensely promising. I think the big question is, will we see another drop tonight? Are we word on the street, since you were next door, could there be another drop tonight, or is this all we're going to see?
So all I can tell you is from my experience when I ran 2 years ago for the state legislature, which was a mail-in ballot year, we had several drops throughout the night, and then it was like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. But that was the first year that they'd ever done this. So I think this is an unprecedented year, as was last election, because we don't really know how I don't know how the mail-in ballots are going to come in, but I assume that it will be in batches throughout the night. Like cities like Mesquite, where they have to bring the ballots from Mesquite to Las Vegas and do all that, it is going to have a lag.
Absolutely. I want to take a look at Congressional District 4. Simply because you also ran for this seat and the primary. And looking at these numbers at the moment, we have 76,000 total votes. And all of those total votes at the moment seem to be registering, at least on the Secretary of State's website, from Clark County. And incumbent Congressman Stephen Horsford has a commanding lead over Republican Sam Peters. This is probably what we would expect to see, correct, at this point with early mail-in voting in Clark?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, think about movies like 2000 Mules and other things that we've been telling Republicans, don't vote early, don't vote by mail. So I agree with you, Michelle, that these results are not surprising to me. And I would expect there to be a shift as the in-person ballots start to be counted.
Yes, we're going to keep these election results up so that people can see them. But I am curious, just a few moments ago, we were able to call the race in Pennsylvania for John Fetterman. Are you a little shocked by this one? You're speechless, Annie.
I mean, yes. I don't know what else to say about that. I am shocked. The guy that shows up to every rally and speech in a hoodie, I don't know. I mean, he can't even complete a full sentence coherently. Yeah, I'm shocked.
I want to give you a look at the Senate makeup at the moment here. If we can take it a little bit bigger, that's helpful. So as we're looking at the Senate makeup across the country, and I don't know if you can see on that screen over there very well, but Washington, Oregon, California, they have them listed as blue according to the Associated Press. And then you see flyover country, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas, Kansas, Oklahoma, bright red. And then the Southeast and what I would call the Mid-South, which would be like really Kentucky, Tennessee's the Mid-South, in my opinion. And then Florida, South Carolina, very red. What is this telling you about the country right now?
I mean, I think it's telling me the same thing that we've been seeing for a while, right? It's not telling us anything surprising. I guess what is kind of surprising is that the red hasn't started to grow across the nation as we all kind of expected with the red wave. Again, though, I'm not sure how reliable these results are given I don't know where all these states are in counting their ballots. Are they with us where it's mostly mail-in ballots? So I don't really know what that means, but I am surprised to see so much blue given the state of the economy with inflation, with gas prices. I mean, the fact that you would elect people that are going to continue to perpetuate this kind of legislation that perpetuates this horrible economy is insane to me, literally.
If I bring out the picture of the governor's races right now, though, again, you're actually seeing a significant amount more red than you are blue. So knowing that not all races are called tonight, I would say that this has been a good night for Republicans on the gubernatorial end. Far better than it has been maybe on the Senate end. I mean, we've taken some, if you're a Republican, you've seen some hits tonight. But on the gubernatorial end, you know, even the ones that they were concerned about, like in Oklahoma with Governor Stitt, for some reason, everybody thought he was in danger. I'm not seeing that. It's a good night for governors.
I think the fact that we're concerned about a Republican governor in Oklahoma is kind of interesting to begin with. But yeah, you're right. As I'm looking at the map, it does show more red. But I think you were talking about a state earlier. Was it Pennsylvania where I was shocked that they have a Republican governor?
I think it must have been Vermont.
Vermont.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that has a lot to do with what Vermont is as a state. So Vermont, well, Burlington is super liberal and crazy. The rules are full of farmers. Mainly dairy farmers. It's a lot of cows and it's hunters. And so you've got that Republican edge. And so often when I lived in Vermont and was with NBC there, we had a Republican governor the whole time. Phil Scott, this is his fourth term that he's won there. So we often have Republican governors, but let me tell you, Pat Leahy's seat is not going red. It went to Peter Welch. It's going blue. And Peter Welch's seat in the House there, they only have one House seat that is also going blue. But New Hampshire was a win for us. Sununu, that was a good one then.
I think going back to what you said about the rurals versus the metro areas, I mean, I think you can take pretty much any state.
Yeah.
And you can look at it and you can almost always zoom in and see that the metros are going blue and all of the rurals are going red. And it seems to be that same dynamic across the country, which is pretty interesting. But, you know, it doesn't seem to change no matter what. I mean, as of right now, to be determined, but it seems that it's still that way, which is surprising.
Absolutely. All right. I want to take a look at some other races if we can. I wanted to go to, I know you're not from the city of Las Vegas, and I know, you know,
I am from the city of Las
Vegas.
You're from Mesquite. I grew up in Solon.
Okay. Okay. I was like, you're the former city councilwoman from Mesquite. How can I ask you about Las Vegas City Council? But Ward Ford is one that people have had their eyes on. I want to talk about that. Francis Allen Palensky or Bob Beers. This is one of those races where even though they're all nonpartisan, we know that Bob and Francis both claim to be Republicans. And it looks like Francis is ahead on this one. Is that what you were expecting, or are you surprised at the moment with only 26,000 votes?
I mean, I'm a little surprised giving Francis's background, but also, yeah, I mean, gosh, I don't know.
I'm just shocking you tonight. I'm like, she's like, Michelle, I hate you. Why are you going to city council races right now? Also, Ray Spencer, who I'm like a big fan of, he is a little bit behind now with Nancy Brune. So this is an interesting race because Ray Spencer was the head of homicide at Las Vegas Metro. Just one of the coolest dudes I've ever met. I absolutely adore him. Nancy Brune, though, is a hardcore socialist. So we got like the righty right and we got the lefty left. If Nancy wins this one, that will be a big left representative in the city of Las Vegas. Are you concerned about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm in real estate, and one of the recent things that the city of Las Vegas did was they put a moratorium, I believe, on vacation rentals, VRBOs, Airbnbs. So yeah, this is a huge thing. I mean, when you live in a state where most of the economy is in Las Vegas, you definitely have to worry whether you reside there or not about the Las Vegas City Council, because they are dictating a lot of what happens with the economy in our state, for the good or the bad.
I want to ask you a question now that you brought up real estate. You triggered a question for me. I read earlier last week that Nevada has some of the highest rents in the nation. We've got the second highest rent in the nation. This was perplexing to me for a couple of reasons, because, you know, to our west, California, my God, everything in California is ridiculously expensive. So how is it that we're considered so high? Is it based purely on the amount of income that we have here, or the cost of housing, or how do they determine that, Annie?
I honestly don't know how they're or where you heard that or how they're determining that, because like you said, that makes no sense.
Right.
Maybe it's based, that still makes no sense, because even if you talk about like the size of the house per square foot, you would imagine that you get more for your rent in Las Vegas than you do in California anywhere.
They were saying, though, that rent has gone up around $250 in the last year. So have you know, even though you're dealing with home sales as well, I imagine rents and home prices have all gone up dramatically in the last year after everything we've gone through with COVID and things of that nature.
Yeah, so imagine that you own rental properties, whether you're a large corporation or just a, you know, run-of-the-mill person that owns one investment property, and you can't charge rent for 2 years. What are you going to do? And also you have to understand that, you know, interest rates are upward of 7% now. Home prices are higher than they've been, and, you know, they just keep going and going and going up, even though the interest rates are still increasing as well. Not, you know, the prices need to come down to compensate for the interest rate increasing, and they just haven't. And so I think there's a lot of factors that are pushing people towards rentals, and there's not enough inventory there. And so it's a highly competitive market. It's just driving prices up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, Annie, thank you so much for joining us here today to talk about these races. We hope to have you out with us again and just a little bit to talk about some of these races. We're going to see if John Fetterman is taking this stage right now. So Spence, if you go to foxnews.com and you just go to watch live, you can actually watch this live, and we can hear John Fetterman talking to the crowd as he has officially won this Pennsylvania seat. This was something that, so you got to go watch live. It's at the very top of the bar, and you go to the right. It's a big red button. There you go. And that should take that. And in a moment, we'll be able to take this and share what he's having to say. Here we go. Apologize. Fox News isn't letting us share that video. So there you go for that one. But I will say that I think as someone who was really hoping that Pennsylvania was going to go the Republicans' way, this is just This is shocking. And I will say that he is someone I will watch closely while he is in the Senate for the next 6 years, because he just proved in that debate that he is not fully capable of communicating the way that I think a senator should communicate. And I'm afraid that he will be someone who is very much against so many of the things that we are hoping to do. Someone has their live stream up with volume, and that's why we're hearing a double echo on this broadcast. So just something for someone to consider here in the broadcast studio. You know what? Let's take a quick commercial break as we get close to 10:30, and we'll come back with some more information in a moment. Election Night 2022 on GRABET TV is brought to you in part by the Nevada Republican Club, bringing Republicans together since 1981.
At Jersey Mike's, they slice your order fresh right in front of you. And let me tell you, watching that can send a rush of emotions through a person. Excitement, impatience, baby-like wonder, indecisive, anticipatory chewing, nerves pacing, happy claps, and finally, jealousy, because that's this guy's sub. I should order one. Good idea.
Sliced right in front of you. It's a Jersey Mike's thing. A sub above.
The body you've always dreamed of is just a text away thanks to Modern Body and Beauty in Las Vegas. The perfect you without needles, knives, or even exercise. Use the power of science to shrink your waistline, erase your cellulite, and trim your arms. Get real results really fast at Modern Body and Beauty. Text fast results right now for instant savings. Get the body you've always wanted naturally. No knives, no needles, no dieting. With Modern Body and Beauty, a better you is only a text away.
I'm the latest hashtag challenge, and everyone on social media is trying me. I'm trending so hard that hashtag common sense can't keep up.
This is gonna get tens and tens of views. But if you don't have the right auto insurance coverage, you could be left to pay for this yourself.
Get Allstate and be better protected from mayhem for a whole lot less.
You found the right model.
For sure.
Now, how can you be sure you're getting the right deal?
I have to talk to my bestie.
Hey, girl. This one's like your last boyfriend. It's got issues.
Let's ask the experts. For the right used car, just say, show me the Carfax value. You'll get the most accurate price based on the vehicle's accident history. Look for me and stop overpaying. Shop at the all-new Carfax.com.
The newest thing from Pizza Hut isn't pizza at all. It's cheesy, so crispy, loaded with toppings, and just $6.99. Enough for two, price for one. New Pizza Hut melts, just $6.99.
We love our pets, but we don't always love their hair. Let's face it, pets are gonna shed every minute of every day, which is why we made Bounce Pet Hair and Lint Guard with 3 times the pet hair fighting ingredients. Just toss one sheet in the dryer to help remove pet hair from your clothes. So go ahead, keep cuddling these guys. Looking good starts in the dryer with Bounce Pet.
Red loved visiting Grandma's house, and after saving big at Amazon, she was ready for those uninvited guests. Shop legendary deals at...
Welcome to Election Night 2022, brought to you by GRABET TV and Western Journal. We are so excited to have you here with us. As you know, races have been called all night long, and here in the great state of Nevada, we are finally seeing some numbers. These numbers, though, are basically the mail-in voting drop that happened prior to Election Day. And we want to take a look at the county commission races in Clark County, particularly County Commission District F. This is where Justin Jones has been the commissioner for the last 4 years, with about 72,000 votes showing at the moment. He has a bit of a lead at 52% over Drew Johnson at 47%. But as I said, none of this is including what happened today. So to talk about that a little bit more, we actually have Drew Johnson, the candidate himself, here in the room. Drew, thanks so much for joining me here this evening. So what are you hearing right now? This is the mail-in voting, but election day voting among Republicans was beating Democrats 2-1. So I'd have to imagine this is still a very hopeful evening.
Absolutely. I think we're in great shape to only be behind, like you said, 4 or 5% with the mail ballots, which we knew would go dramatically towards Democrats. I'm very, very hopeful because just being on the ground at these polling locations, I was at 6 or 7 different polling locations today, Michelle, and every single one I saw, 70% Republicans, 75% Republicans. So I know, or independents who are voting Republican. And so I know that that number is going to close, and all the projections I'm seeing is that I'll be the first Republican county commissioner in 14 years.
14 years. Isn't that just hard to believe that there has not been one single Republican on that commission for longer than my daughter has been alive? So that is just crazy. Now, Justin Jones, he has been under a great deal of scrutiny over the last, I'd say, 6-7 months with, of course, the Red Rock deal and a lot of the pro quo that we've been seeing. Did that make it easier to talk to voters when you were going door to door? Because I know you were working hard going door to door, that people actually knew a little bit about this race and they knew about your opponent?
I think he does have a background that people are familiar with. They know he's scandal plagued. They know he is not the most up and up sort of guy. But what really mattered, I think, was the economy, the sort of things that we're just facing here in Clark County, the terrible schools, the bad economy, the struggle for jobs. And so I think just having a positive message, a hopeful future for Clark County was really the key for me. I didn't want to get into mudslinging and a negative campaign. Justin Jones was certainly happy to. He called me a porn extremist and a pro-choice extremist and a pro-life extremist. And
how are you a pro-life and pro-choice extremist?
I don't know how you can be pro-porn and pro-life at the same time, but he managed to invent this crazy person. And so I just let him sound like a crazy nut, which he basically is, a lying weasel, and just let him dig his own grave. And tonight he's fallen in it.
So as a candidate, I know tonight is a difficult night because, we grew up in a time where when you went to bed, you knew who won the elections. Yay, Reagan won. Yay, Bush won. Oh, boo, Clinton won. But we knew these things, right? And now we don't. So the next couple of days, all the way up until Saturday, I believe, they'll be counting votes. I'm sure as a candidate that can be an agonizing and grueling process.
We saw with Stavros Anthony 2 years ago in the same position that I'm running for, Clark County Commission. He went to bed on election night up 2,200 votes. Ballots were counted. All these mail-ins came. Over 90% went for his opponent, Ross Miller, and Stavros ended up losing by 10 votes. Now, I don't think that's going to happen this time because we had so many great people volunteer their time, so many great attorneys watching the polls. I think we're going to have a real, true understanding of who won and who lost. But one of the reasons why I'm running, frankly, is because we don't have any oversight on the county election process from a Republican or a non-Democrat period perspective. And so hopefully I can bring that in and remedy things like we're seeing today where these drop-off ballots aren't going to be counted for days and days. And it's like you said, it's just so frustrating to be a candidate, believe you won, be excited to see the numbers and know that you'll go to bed tonight not knowing, and you'll probably go to bed the next 2 or 3 nights not knowing, even though you ran a great race and you've got the numbers kind of in your favor.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Drew, I appreciate you joining us here tonight and wish you all the best as you continue on waiting on results in this race. All right, let's take a look now at what's going on in Washoe County as we're going to get ready to welcome Chuck Muth back with us. According to some early mail votes in Washoe, it looks like Catherine Cortez Mastow is up about 2,000 votes in Washoe County. She is over Laxalt 50-47. It's really only about the difference of about, like I said, 2,000 votes. What I'm curious about to learn with Chuck is, was this something that we were really expecting in Washoe County? I've heard a lot of things about Washoe County in the last couple of weeks. And some of the rumors and things that I've heard, Chuck, are everything from Washoe Republicans were not as strong for Laxalt as many had hoped. And then I've also heard that Republicans outperformed in Washoe on election day. So I don't exactly know what to do with these numbers from Washoe County that are currently showing Catherine Cortez Mastow ahead. What do you say, Chuck?
Yeah, well, it's really tough. These numbers are really tough because we're seeing the Clark County numbers in, but we're not necessarily seeing all of the rural numbers that are mixed in. And we all know that Republicans do a whole lot better in the rurals than in Clark County. So it's statewide, it's way too soon to be making any kind of predictions or to look and see where we are statewide. But it is concerning in Clark County, looking at the Clark County numbers, when you go down ballot and look at some of these legislative races, if there was to be any kind of red wave in Nevada, you would have seen it showing already in the Clark County results for Clark County legislative seats, and it's just not there, at least not in these early results. The problem I'm having is with the numbers that we're seeing in Clark County now don't include the mail-in ballots necessarily. And so they're going to lean more toward the Democrat side. So if a Republican goes to bed tonight and is already behind before they start counting those mail-in ballots, it's not going to be a very good night for a lot of races that Republicans thought that they might have a chance to pick up some seats in the legislature.
So I have some questions for you about what Republicans may have done right or wrong if this turns out to be a night or a week. Let's give it a week that Republicans didn't do quite as well. We're disappointed by the numbers we saw in Pennsylvania. We're disappointed by the numbers we saw in New Hampshire. We're disappointed by the numbers we're seeing early on in Arizona and early on here in Nevada. So I guess my question is, what did we do? What did we do wrong? Because overall, there was this feeling that we were doing things right. We were talking about the economy. We were talking about inflation. We were talking about the rising crime. I, for one, am a little taken aback by this. I'm sure you are as well. But that means Republicans need to re-strategize a bit. So let's Monday morning quarterback a bit. And what do Republicans need to do going into 2024?
Well, first of all, the biggest mistake that I think Republicans made, they started this probably a year ago. They started talking about this red wave. And they were banking on it. They were counting on it. They were looking at races where you thought it was a swing district and the red wave was going to carry them to victory. It didn't. Clearly, it didn't anywhere in the country. You cannot bank your entire campaign on the hopes that the Democrats are going to stay home and Republicans are going to turn out in bigger numbers. The Republican Party here in Nevada, I still think, failed. They should have been tamping down the expectations for the red wave for months now. We had some really good candidates out there who, frankly, I'm looking at the races. They ran bad campaigns. And this is a problem that we've had in Nevada for a long time. Good candidates, bad campaigns. They didn't come up with the right strategy. They didn't come up with the right message. They didn't talk to the voters the way they need to talk to voters. So in Nevada, if we're going to do better in 2024, we need to start tomorrow. We need to start recruiting candidates early, not waiting until March of 2024 to wait to see who files and then hope that we can make those candidates better. It'll be too late by then. You can't wait until March to do this. You got to start tomorrow. I know it's Wednesday. Nobody wants to hear that. But
Right.
tomorrow we got to start with recruiting, training, and getting these candidates ready to go for 2024.
So one of the things that I noticed watching national news networks all week was that early on, kind of towards the weekend, people started saying, I don't know if things are going to go as well as I thought in the Senate. I don't know if things are going to go as well as we had hoped in the Senate. And now we're kind of seeing that play out. I'll show you the way the Senate makeup looks right now, if I can. There we go. And we're seeing right now 47 for the GOP, 45 for the Dems. We very well may, I don't actually know if we're going to squeak out a majority or not here on this one. But when I see someone like a John Fetterman, in my mind, and maybe I'm crazy, maybe in Pennsylvania, he's a very strong candidate. But in my mind, this is a guy who I wouldn't want to encounter in a dark alley, right? So I'm a little baffled. But I'm also baffled that right now, things aren't going as well in Arizona, where I had high hopes. So are we seeing that the Trump effect, dare I say this to cause problems, but is the Trump effect not really working here on the West Coast? It did great things for J.D. Vance. It's done great things in Florida for Marco Rubio and DeSantis. But at the end of the day, do we need to strategize differently and not make it all about Trump here in Nevada anymore? Dare I say that? Am I loud, Chuck?
No, well, you're not allowed. You'll get in trouble for it, but I'm going to agree with you. The problem is, and we've seen this around the country, there were candidates that the thinking was you cannot win a Republican primary without Trump's support. And we saw that happen in the primaries all across the country. Trump's support meant a great deal in the primary. But the Trump support in the primary has not necessarily helped Republican candidates in the general election. And it's a huge problem for Republicans that they're going to have to come to grips with going into 2024. None of us knows for sure what Donald Trump is going to say on November the 15th. The expectation is that he's going to announce very early on, yes, I'm a candidate in 2024. Now Republican candidates all across the country, from Congress on down, are going to have to decide how do they deal with the Trump situation. Do you embrace him full out? Maybe you need to in order to win a Republican primary. But Republicans in general are going to have to say, what does that mean in the general election? And I think the results that we've seen so far around the country tonight is it's something that Republicans need to be a little bit skittish about. I will say this. I think that Glenn Youngkin in Virginia last year in the gubernatorial race, he had it just about right. He was a Trump supporter, but he didn't fully embrace Trump. There wasn't that Trump love that a lot of candidates did where they wrapped themselves around Trump. Republicans need to embrace Trump's his agenda and his success in implementing that agenda without necessarily endorsing and embracing Donald Trump himself. Joe Lombardo here in Nevada, I think, threaded that needle very well. And if things continue to go where they are, which is not encouraging, it could be that Joe Lombardo may be the bright spot here, hopefully, that he wins the general election, becomes the next governor of Nevada. And if so, that may prove in a purple state, a swing state like Nevada, that that's the way you need to handle the Trump thing coming into 2024.
Absolutely. I mean, I would go as far as to say that one thing that I've noticed is I feel too many candidates try very hard to emulate Trump. I feel like they tried very hard to be just like him. There were times, even as clever and as witty as I think Carrie Lake is, I think there were times where she took it a little too far. You know, CNN's asking for an interview and she's like, only if it can be on CNN Plus. Oh, see, it doesn't exist anymore. You know, she's kind of snarky. I think at the end of the day, what people really want is humanity. I think that's something that Ron DeSantis has done very well. He's witty and snarky at times, but he really does have, it's who he is. He isn't playing a game here. And so maybe that's one of the things that needs to change too. Quit trying to be Donald Trump. Be yourself, be genuine, be real.
Yeah, there's only one Donald Trump. He's very unique. Other candidates can't pull off what Trump has been able to pull off. On the other hand, there are candidates out there who can and should learn from some of the good things that Donald Trump did as a candidate. And we were talking about this in the last segment, Michelle. Republican candidates need to learn more about marketing than they do about politics. They need to know how to sell their message, how to sell and become a candidate that voters can embrace. There are things that you can learn from Trump. On the other hand, there are some things that you should learn from Donald Trump that aren't so great. And one of them is, and it's an old saying in politics, you don't pick a fight with someone who buys ink by the barrel and paper by the ton. Now, it worked very well for Donald Trump to be picking a fight with the media. He won in 2016 despite that, and maybe to a certain extent because of it. But though that media after 2016, because Donald Trump continued pointing to people in the back of the audience when he was doing his rallies and constantly picking a fight with the media then decided to go on. They were always against him, but they decided to go on a jihad against him. They were on a crusade against him. And the saying became very early in his presidency that if Donald Trump walked on water, the media would say that he can't swim. And Donald Trump was not able to survive that in 2020. The election, fraud to the contrary. The fact of the matter is he didn't win, whether you like it or not, or believe there was fraud or not. Joe Biden's in the White House right now. So Republicans really do. I mean, there are certain things that you can learn from Donald Trump. There's certain things you can learn from Donald Trump that you shouldn't do as a Republican candidate if you're not Donald Trump.
Absolutely. Now, I just saw some results coming in from it's Wisconsin, right? That's where Ron Johnson is. Am I in the right state or am I in the wrong state? Ron Johnson, Wisconsin. And Mandela Barnes, that is tight as can be with 93% of results reporting. I'm a little surprised by that one as well, but we have not yet really talked about that race. So I wanted to do so. I also wanted to ask you a question about education. And I think there's people who would probably, want to just ring me up for saying this. But in a state like Virginia, education was a winning message and parents were really involved in it. I wonder if you're going to agree with me or disagree with me here, Chuck. Education is not important to Nevadans and they don't care about it. The proof is in the pudding. We're 51st in the nation for education. 72% of Nevadans do not, stress that again, do not have a college education. It is more profitable to be a maitre d' or a cocktail waitress in this state than it is to get an education. And therefore, education issues continue to fall flat. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but I really just don't think the education message is one that's winning here. I'm going to take a look at the city council or the school board races here in a hot second while you answer that question. But am I right or am I wrong? Is education a dying message in Nevada?
I think it's a message in Nevada that Republicans should have capitalized on, but failed to. And in saying that, you have to separate elementary and high school education from college. And I would agree with you when it comes to college, when a student gets out of high school and they're looking at how much it's going to cost to go to college for 4 years to get a degree that may or may not be of value anymore. That's one thing. I don't think that parents in Nevada don't care about education at the high school and the elementary school level, but the Republican Party and conservatives in general have not done what they should do on the education issue. The fact that we're 49th in education in our public high schools should be an issue that at the school board, you mentioned the school board races, there isn't a good conservative school board candidate in an election cycle where education should have been a big deal.
Yeah, well, I want to ask you about School District F. If Irene Bustamante wins that one over Danielle Ford, and we all know Irene Bustamante was in the assembly. She is a Democrat. I don't know what Danielle Ford is. Sorry. Is that a positive or a negative there? Is that a good thing if Irene takes over, or would you rather have Danielle Ford?
Okay, so since you got yourself in trouble earlier, I'll go on a limb here because remember, and no offense, Michelle, but there's always this big talk, and there has been, especially in Nevada, about women in politics. And there was a big deal made of the fact that we have finally had a majority in the legislature where all women, or a majority was women. And look at the damage that's been done to the state. Now, I'm not blaming it on women. The problem is, it's not that there are women who are in office. It's women who are thinking the wrong way or don't have the right philosophical beliefs. The Republican women, I think, are great. The Democrat women are a problem. Now, you look at that school board, the entire school board is all women. But there's only one conservative out of those 7 on the school board. And it's probably the most dysfunctional government entity in the entire state, including the Clark County Commission. There isn't a good conservative on the ballot this year running for school board. They were in the primary. We had some good candidates there in the primary. I don't think it's a problem that parents don't care about education. I think that the local Republican Party here has not focused on the down ballot races. This is normal. This is usual, but you're going to have to break out of that. The county and local parties need to focus on the down ballot races. The gubernatorial race, the U.S. Senate race, the congressional campaigns, they have the money and the consultants that they need to run credible campaigns. It's the down ballot races that are our farm team. And I think the county party here, especially in Clark County, really needs to start focusing their time on the down ballot races, school board, county commission, city council, and even the state legislative races.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Chuck, thanks so much for your insight. We appreciate that so much. We're at about 10:45. We were going to go until midnight tonight, but we're getting word on the street that we may not get any additional results tonight. We're going to take a quick commercial break, find out kind of what's going on, get another lay of the land so that we can keep you informed. So don't go anywhere. GRABET TV and Western Journal's coverage of election 2022 continues right after this.
Election Night 2022 on GRABET TV is brought to you in part by the Nevada Republican Club, bringing Republicans together since 1981.
When you get Domino's delivered, you can get any 2 or more mix and match items for $6.99 each. And now we're adding $6.99 Parmesan bread bites. And what happened to the other lava cake?
Sebastian?
Yeah, that's weird.
Get 2 or more mix and match items delivered for $6.99 each.
You found the right model.
For sure.
Now, how can you be sure you're getting the right deal?
I have to talk to my bestie.
Hey, girl. This one's like your last boyfriend. It's got issues.
Let's ask the experts. For the right used car, just say, show me the Carfax value. You'll get the most accurate price based on the vehicle's accident history. Look for me and stop overpaying. Shop at the all-new Carfax.com.
Newest thing from Pizza Hut isn't pizza at all. It's cheesy, so crispy, loaded with toppings, and just $6.99. Enough for 2, price for 1. New Pizza Hut melts, just $6.99.
I be like,
We love our pets, but we don't always love their hair. Let's face it, pets are gonna shed every minute of every day, which is why we made Bounce Pet Hair and Lint Guard with 3 times the pet hair fighting ingredients. Just toss 1 sheet in the dryer to help remove pet hair from your clothes. So go ahead, keep cuddling these guys. Looking good starts in the dryer with Bounce Pet.
Red loved visiting Grandma's house, and after saving big at Amazon, she was ready for those uninvited guests. Shop legendary deals at Amazon.
Want to learn to scuba dive? Need swimming lessons for your kids? Then you need to check out Stone Sports in Las Vegas, right off Fort Apache and Tropicana. At Stone Sports, they teach the young and the young at heart. Whether you're looking for fun, fitness, or competitions, Stone Sports is the place for you and your entire family. Give them a call today at 702-779-3021, 702-779-3021, or check them out online at stonesports.net. Stone Sports, where water safety and water fun meet.
Back to GRABET TV and Western Journal's coverage of Election 22. Rudy Pamantuan is here with us once again, and we're going to talk about the House for a little bit. So we're getting word, and I don't know how we're going to take it, but hopefully Spencer can figure out if we can. McCarthy is going to speak as the House hangs in the balance. The way it looks right now, Democrats have lost 5 seats, and Republicans have gained 2. So maybe? I don't know. What do you say, Rudy?
You know what? I'm still feeling very hopeful, right? I mean, it's still early in the evening. We're still dealing with getting the results in the West. I feel very hopeful. I think the American people have been fed up with what's been going on the last couple of years. So I feel pretty good about it. I think what we're going to see is we're going to see the same kind of, and maybe not the margin that we saw in '94 with the Republican Revolution, but I think we will capture the majority by a small margin. And I think that will be the stopgap for this crazy far left assault on America.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But what does it mean if we don't win the House and we don't win the Senate? What does that mean? Does that mean that the Democrats' message of the assault on democracy, et cetera, does that mean that resonated? Was abortion a bigger deal than the economy? I mean, my mind's just blown. This is a midterm. Republicans should win big, and we're just not seeing that bigness. So what is going on with America, Rudy?
Well, you know what I will say right now is, the environment was ripe for Republicans to pick up more seats. The environment was ripe for challengers to win. The problem was, I hate to say it, if we have to point fingers, I'd point my finger at every single consultant across the nation, because a lot of money was raised. The demand for new leadership was right there. But what happened was we have consultants that are running campaigns in an old school kind of way when we're in a modern world. And so while everyone's focused on TV and mail, it should be about grassroots engagement. It should be about knocking on doors. It should be about reaching out and making phone calls. And it should be about social media. But you know what? That's where the problem is. So there's been a lot of money that's been thrown out on our side. You know, we're here in Vegas, right? And you look at the betting pools. Right now, Republicans are favored, but right now it's not looking as good as it should be because a lot of good money is being thrown at bad consultants. And you know what? If I'm starting a small business, I'm going to hire good attorneys. You know, if I'm going to open up a bar, I want the best attorney that will ensure that I get a liquor license, right? Right now, we're dealing with consultants that are overpaid and can't deliver. Right now, we should be winning big. This should be a big tidal wave. And what's happened is we have folks, these political consultants that are renting out surfboards that can't even carry the wave. It's terrible. We should be winning big. If we're going to point fingers right now, it's these consultants. Move them out, bring in new young blood. Let's be more grassroots.
I want to ask you now about Henderson City Council because you live in Henderson and I know nothing about Henderson, so I cannot comment on this race. But right now, with about 77,000 votes reporting, Carrie Cox is, wow, it's neck and neck between Carrie Cox and Trish Nash. Give us some insight in this race. Why is it so close? Who should win?
You know what? This is a race to really watch. You know what? It's everyone's been talking about the big statewide elections, but here locally, this Henderson City Council race has been really, really tight. It's been spirited campaigns on both sides. Both are great conservatives, and they've been fighting really hard. I don't know who's going to win on this one. It'll be interesting. Trish Nash was out early. She led the Chamber of Commerce. She's very involved with the community. So she's been there from the get-go. But Carrie Cox, she's been running. I mean, this is her second time running for city council. So she's got some good name ID. You know what? This is anyone's guess. But, you know, I think when all is said and done, I think Trish Nash is going to win this one by a slim margin.
I wanted to talk to you about some of the judicial races, but I can't seem to figure out where the judicial races results are. So,
well, they're probably out there the same way that the Powerball winner was, right? I mean, I thought I was going to win big last night, and then of course, you know, that's a whole nother topic to talk about, Michelle.
Yeah. All right. Let me see if I can do regents since I can't do judges. Yes. I don't know a great deal about these regions. I think you know a little bit more. Let's go to the
Love Stephanie Goodman.
Well, that's the one I was going to go to. And I'll tell you this. Stephanie Goodman right now with 47,000 votes is spanking John Moran. So this is interesting because this was the battle of the dynasties, because the Moran dynasty is a big dynasty here in Las Vegas. The Goodman dynasty, another huge dynasty here. You know, which one should have won out? I think the interesting thing here is I'm not sure that Stephanie is conservative in any way, but I think she's more conservative than John. This was a win for Republicans if it continues to stay this way, correct?
She's definitely a lot the most conservative in the race. But you know what? When you're dealing with dynasty versus dynasty, it's really going to boil down to who's the hardest worker. Stephanie is out there banging on doors, meeting with constituents, showing up at events, listening to folks. I mean, I ran into her earlier this evening and she spoke about that once she's elected, she wants to do coffees throughout the district to meet with voters to learn more about what their issues are. I mean, how often you hear about candidates that talk about once they are elected, they want to meet with constituents to learn more of what they can do to bring forth as an elected to do a better job. I'm a big fan of Stephanie Goodman. I'm excited. I think she's going to win this, and I look forward to her running for future offices in the near future.
All right, I want to let you know that right now they are saying that the races in Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, and Wisconsin in the Senate side, they are all too close to call. We're here in Clark County. Yes, we know that. This is only the early voting that we're seeing here right now. But did you expect it to go this down to the wire? I'm actually surprised at Wisconsin because I thought Ron Johnson was gonna kill it.
I thought it would be a little tighter. I know that Fox News is reporting that Wisconsin is leaning towards us, but you know, here in Nevada, that you know, we all live here, right?
Yeah.
I knew that this race was going to be a tight one, and with mail-in ballots, I don't think we're going to know the results for the next couple of days. It's going to be a really, really tight one. And so even though tonight we're here at all the victory parties here at the Red Rock, I think what's going to happen is we're not going to see any final results for the next couple of days.
Yeah, and I think that's important to talk about because here as we go at 11 o'clock, what history generally tells us at 11 p.m., that's when all the major networks where I used to work, they go live at 11 p.m. So there's always a little bit of a dump so that we have something to report on. And then, but I don't believe that dump is going to be very big here at 11 o'clock. And I think we'll see tomorrow morning and the next day and the next day after that, you're going to see a lot more results come in. At the end of the day, as the president of the Nevada Republican Club, if this does not turn out to be a great night in Nevada for Republicans, where do we go from here, Rudy?
That's a great question. You know, and again, I'm reacting in real time, right?
Right.
But if you were to ask me the question, which you have, I would say that we need to reevaluate. I mean, this current environment has been completely ripe for the opportunity for Republicans to pick up seats. And we obviously did. I mean, when it comes to the economy, we win. When it comes to addressing crime, we win. When it deals with failures in public education, we're right on the issues. So in what is most important to the American people, we stand on the right side on the issues. We've just done a poor job in communicating that message out to the American people. I mean, you look at what's happening in America today when it comes to foreign policy down to domestic policy. It's been a complete and utter failure by the far left. We can do better. The Republicans could do a better job in communicating the alternative approach, plan, and solution. And quite frankly, we've got some pretty good candidates, but some of our candidates are falling short. You know what? If I'm starting a small business and I fall short, even though I have a great marketing and business plan, I blame my vendors. It's these political consultants. They're overpaid, they don't work, and their approaches to winning are failures.
Absolutely. All right. I can tell you that House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy in California is speaking right now. It is very interesting to see what's happening in the House. I don't know if you have this information or not, but many of us were looking to Virginia for those 3 House races there as to whether they were going to potentially win. Are we able to take McCarthy? Let's take McCarthy right now. Oh, no, that's fine.
I mean, the numbers are looking great, aren't they?
I think, yeah, the numbers are looking very good. I'm curious what he has to say. Let's listen in.
And I want to thank the millions of supporters across this country. You know, 2 years ago when I became leader, Republicans had less than 200 seats in the House. That cycle, we picked up 14 seats when every single person said that would be impossible. If you believe in freedom, hard work, and the American dream, these results proved that there is a place for you in the Republican Party. Now tonight, we built upon those gains 2 years ago, and it is clear that we are going to take the House back. In New York, we defeated the Democrat campaign chairman, Sean Patrick Maloney. Sean Patrick Maloney, which will be the first time in over 40 years a DCCC chair lost his reelection. Not only that, but on Long Island, Anthony D'Esposito won a seat that Joe Biden carried by 17 points. We are on the verge of historic gains in New York. In Florida, we gained 4 seats alone. We are poised to sweep the entire state of Iowa. And I will tell you, from the southern border of Monica de la Cruz
be in this race. We have a lot of our votes coming in all across the state yet to be tabulated. We are going to win this race. And I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. Thank you for all your support over the last 15 months. I have so many to thank for our campaign, our last 15 months across our great state. First, I want to thank my wife, Jamie, and my 4 children, Sophia, Isabella, Jack, and Liliana, who are all sound asleep right now. And I want to thank my mother. I would not be here today if she did not choose to bring me into this world. And I owe everything to her. Thank you, Mom. I also want to thank two people who are no longer with us, my grandpa and my nana, who were so incredibly important to me in my life, and I know they're watching us right now. I want to give profound thanks to Robert Einthoven and the incredible campaign team that have gotten us to where we are tonight. Thank you. And to our supporters and volunteers in every neighborhood around the Silver State, I'm indebted to you for hours and hours of campaign trust and tireless dedication. For the last 15 months, we fought for Nevada, and we fought for America. And when we win this race, I'm going to support our police and fight to make our streets safe again. I will not rest till we've resecured our southern border. We're going to vote to defund the 87,000 IRS agents that the left wants to use to come after us. I'm going to fight to open up American energy production and get gas prices and inflation under control. And I'll stand for moms and dads who simply involved in their children's education and make sure that the government isn't co-parenting our children. And I'm going to fight to make sure we never have COVID lockdowns again in the state of Nevada. I'm going to stand up for Nevada workers and businesses against federal overreach. And I'll always put Nevada and America first. I won't ever forget the 15 months we've spent in every community all across this state. We had people voting in the snow and in the rain because they want a better Nevada and a better America. So, unfortunately, we're in for a long night and maybe even a few days into this week as all the votes are tabulated, but we're confident that the numbers are there, and we're going to win this race. We're going to take back Nevada and take back America. Thank you all.
Spirits up as the early numbers in Clark County and in the rules have not been in our favor. Many people are saying that is because that is the mail ballots. And of course, election day voting, Republicans came out in a big way. But let's go to Annie Black right now. What is your take on this? Are you anticipating things might change, or do you think the writing's on the wall?
Look, I want to maintain a positive attitude here and be an optimist, but the reality is, maybe it's just where I'm from, but in Mesquite, I do know a lot of people who are conservatives who voted by mail and also turned in their ballots, some time ago. So I want to remain positive. I don't want to give up, but I do think that we would be, mistaken if we were to say that every single mail-in ballot that came in right now was a Democrat ballot.
I'm curious because you, if I may use the term, I feel like you had a pretty cushy, safe seat in the assembly, and you chose to give that up for a run for Congress. And I know when you and I met early on during the primary, you said, hey, I know it's really dependent on a red wave to win this one, that you're going to need that with the way the redistricting was done. I'm curious, have we just seen a season here in Nevada where maybe we're not really a swing state, we're not really red, we're blue, and we kind of have to come to terms with that?
I'm going to be completely honest here.
Yeah, do it.
That's generally what I do. I think that we were relying on a red wave with some subpar candidates in subpar consultants, and we were expecting a red wave to carry us all over the finish line, and it didn't really happen. And I mean, love me or hate me, I'm going to be completely honest. I think that Nevada, as Rudy said earlier, was prime to be taken by conservatives, and we dropped the ball.
And so I guess that begs another question, because I guess you could say you and I are two ladies who think we're pretty damn good candidates who've never, made it all the way. You've made it further than I have. So what is it? Like, what, I question this all the time. What the fudge are we doing? That, the wrong people always make it in the primary, but, or maybe I'm being too brazen there. Maybe it's not the wrong people make it in the primary, but just everything is just a hot mess in these elections. Like, why do you need 100K to run for assembly in Nevada? That is redonkulous. I'll just say it. It's stupid, Annie.
I think it is stupid. And I think, honestly, I saw some interesting campaign. What was her name? Frances Allen. I saw some interesting mail pieces, for example, that she put out where it was like, and this is totally off topic, but it was like a holograph where it was like, before Bob Beers and after Bob Beers, and it was interesting. Like, I'm not in
holograph, like a hologram.
Yeah, it was like you turned it and you saw like a different, like before Bob Beers, after Bob Beers, and honestly, I'm not in that district, so I'm not part of that. But when I saw that mail piece, I thought, wow, that's original. That's something I haven't seen before. And I think the reality is, my point here is that we lack originality. We lack any sort of, as Chuck said, as Rudy said, it's not about, we're not marketing our candidates well. We think that we can put on the same old dress and show up to the dance and that somehow we're going to win. And I think that this election, if it has proven anything to us, if it stays the course that we're on right now, it has proven that you can be in prime opportunity time. And if you do not promote your candidate the right way with the right issues, you're still not going to win. There's nothing that can overcome a bad campaign.
And you were there when redistricting happened, and redistricting was frustrating as all get out. I'll just be the first one to say that. I would argue that if this does not go our way, well, the Democrats did a dang good job. Redistricting freaking worked from that. And it's going to be hard. If we couldn't overcome in this year, how the heck are we going to overcome in the next 10 years, Annie?
So look, the conclusion of the last legislative session where we did redistricting was, over the course of time, even though we may be out of the super minority right now, over the course of time, given redistricting, the way the districts are drawn, that we will eventually end up back in the super minority. No matter how great our candidates are, it's just the way the districts are drawn. This race was an opportunity for us to maybe get the executive branch of the government back and to grab a couple of seats and to try to right the ship. And I think that, like you said, I mean, from here, it just gets exponentially harder because everything is working against us. At least right now, redistricting hadn't quite totally hit us. And we also had the economic conditions and all the catastrophes that the Biden administration has put on us in the last 2 years to help us win. And even given those ripe circumstances, we didn't win. And we have to really look at, why did we not win?
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. All right, Annie, I appreciate your insight so much. As we get to 11:10, and I am fairly confident Clark County is not going to drop anything, I think we should end on a positive note. And so, Spence, looking at the 8 p.m. rundown, let's go over the races that we know have gone red, that we know are wins. And these are primarily in the Assembly and the Senate. It's about the only thing we can call here tonight. I think it's worth doing. And just to end on a high note, and we'll start with Assembly District 19. And that's going to be Toby Urick. He's actually taking over Annie's seat. And this is in the Mesquite area. And he was running unopposed. He will be in the Assembly. That is a red win. We'll then go to Assembly 26, which is Rich DeLong. I am not 100% sure what part of town that is, but I'm pretty sure it's up north. That's Krasner's old seat. I almost said something I shouldn't have said. That's Krasner's old seat. 40% Republican, 28% Democrat right there. The next seat that we'll look at is 31. That's Jill Dickman. This District 31 is an interesting one, by the way, because Skip Daly had this for a while. It often flips back and forth, but Dickman didn't even have an opponent to run against this time. So there you go with that one. Now,
favorable for her.
Oh, it did. Okay,
Yeah.
so 31 is a lot more favorable now. And then we'll follow that with 32, which is Alexis Hansen. I don't know how the Hansens got so freaking lucky there. Maybe you can tell me how. But Alexis and Ira both running unopposed, both have really red districts. It's a good thing to be a Hansen, all right?
Yeah.
Right? All
they
right.
picked a good place to live, apparently.
Evidently, and you and I, we need to move. Assembly District 36 is Greg Hafen. That's the Pahrump area. Shout out to Spencer, our great director from Pahrump. We've got Assembly District 38, which is Gregory Koenig. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, that's Robin Titus's old district.
Okay, that's Robin. Thank you. See, we needed you here for this, right? That's 48% Republican.
Yeah, that's a big
Dang,
one.
girl. I mean, that's a strong Republican seat. He was running unopposed. And then we, of course, have Ira Hansen and Robin Titus in the Senate. So that is how it's looking. So that is some positive news for you this evening on election night. You know, I would say overall, if you're looking for some inspiration, you don't want to end on a Debbie Downer. You know, we had some good wins when it came to gubernatorial races across the nation, and that's a good thing. When we have more red states, you'll get more positive reinforcement. But I do think that this is a night that over the next couple of days, if we do not see the tide turn, Republicans in Nevada specifically are going to have to look at themselves in the mirror in a very difficult way and say, where do we go from here? And who do we need to become? And how do we need to become in order to see some real wins? The registrations are stacked against us almost in every district in the election binder there. You see that the others, the nonpartisans outnumber us. And you know what I'll do real quick? Let's look at ballot question 3 real quick, if I can find it like a little fast person. Yep, I'm sometimes smarter than I look. And question number 3. Oh, dang, y'all.
Yeah.
Dang.
Oh, good God.
State question 3. 500,000 votes. They did a drop. There ain't no way. How do we? Oh, statewide question, right? That's why we have so many high numbers. But in Clark County, how do you have total votes right now? Did they do a drop? Because that is.
Yeah, they did a drop because
We weren't at those numbers a minute ago.
because they're doing it right now as we speak.
They're dropping right now. Okay, let's because right now ballot question 1 is winning, ballot question 2 is winning, ballot question 3 is winning. It's not real TV. I guess I could say some words, but I've been trained better than that. Congressional District 1, new information. Dina Titus still ahead. Congressional District 3, Susie Lee still ahead. We've got 185,000 votes there. Congressional District 4, Horsford has a pretty commanding lead there right now. 39% reporting. Where should we go next? Let's go to, how do I go to the, sometimes I'm not as clever as I think I am.
Congressional races, they've not changed.
Cass Thurn Cortez Masto still ahead in Clark County. Has anything happened on Silver State? Has it changed at all there or not really? All right. These are the numbers that we're seeing at the moment. So sorry, it takes me a hot minute. What is going on? I'm seeing too many things on TV right now. There's a lot going on right now. This night is crazy. That's what Nightcrawler on Twitch said. This night is crazy. So let's end on that. When someone on Twitch is like, you know what? This night is crazy. I'm just going to agree with you. Yep, it sure is. It's not what we've expected. We're going to have to regroup. We're going to have to see how the numbers change over the next several days. And I'm excited to see how the numbers change over the next several days. But we... Nightcrawler CC on Twitch says, I'm the Libertarian candidate in Senate District 10. Well, welcome, Libertarian candidate from Senate District 10. I should probably give you a true shout out. There's nothing more fun than going to the binder.
It's only 500 pages.
Oh, you are the Senate District 10. That means you're Chris Cunningham. Hello, Chris, and welcome to you. Your district was super upside down, my friend. 43% other, 37% Democrat, 20% Republican. And that's the one thing that, if I'm going to be the Debbie Downer, but I'm also going to be the know-it-all right now, I'm going to be the know-it-all. That's why redistricting matters. And I was hemming and hawing from the beginning that redistricting sucked for us. And that was a 10-year curse. And it looks like I am right on that. So we do, as Republicans, need to regroup. I think 2024 could be a difficult year. We all know Trump's going to make an announcement on Tuesday. I think if everyone's honest, they wish it was DeSantis and not him. So we've got a lot to overcome in the next couple of years. Okay. Man, I get looks in the room. People are like, no, maybe that's just my wish. I really like DeSantis, and DeSantis had a good night tonight. And I guess if you were going to say if there was anyone who was a big winner of the night, it was him. So good for him on that one. Right. Got to give somebody. Thank you, Annie. Thank you. Someone's got to do a little applause there. All right. So we're fading fast. It's 11:17. We're going to call it quits for tonight, but we do thank you for joining us here with GRABET TV and Western Journal. It was an honor to partner with them. And thank you to our amazing sponsor, the Nevada Republican Club. None of this could have happened without them. And none of this could have happened without our amazing friend, April Becker, as well, who we're still hoping will have a big win here in this election. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for voting. And thank you for being a concerned citizen. We'll be here for you at GRABET TV. Rudy and I, by the way, will be starting our show about Yellowstone, the TV show, very, very soon. I think the episode is this weekend. So Sunday. So we might have to change what day we do our Yellowstone preview, but it's going to be a good one. Is Lombardo talking right now? Can we take that live? Maybe. We'll see. All right, we'll take that live. One moment.
It sucks, but
you hear that? It's my birthday today.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
It's his birthday.
So I have to apologize for you not seeing me earlier than right now, but we were upstairs in the war room, per se, and we're watching the polls come in, and we're trying to decipher the numbers, as you can imagine, all the nuances that you go through in a campaign. And the reason why we're here now is because we don't know anything yet. All right. So I apologize to you for that. So this race is very close. We've done a significant amount of work the last 18 months in this campaign to bring us here tonight. And with all your help and all your support, it brings us in a razor-thin race. And I anticipate we're going to be successful in the next couple of days. We're going to be successful in the next couple of days, and I anticipate you're going to be calling me Governor Lombardo here in a couple of days. All right? But unfortunately, we need some patience. We need some patience because we don't know the answers yet, and we will know in the next couple of days. That's what they're telling us. So I need everybody to be patient. Everybody keep paying attention to the polls as they come in. And keep your fingers crossed, keep supporting, keep saying your prayers, and we're going to be successful. And then we're all going to get back together again and have a real party, all right? So every one of you, please thank each other for all the work you've done in this campaign, for myself, Adam Laxalt, and everybody else on the ticket. Everybody else on the ticket, because we worked hard. Because we want to ensure that we put our state back on the right track. Because we can all agree we're going in the wrong direction. And so we're going to keep fighting all the way to the end. We're going to count every ballot. And I anticipate success here in the next couple of days. So thank you. Thank you very much. Everybody, be careful when you go home today.
That was Sheriff Lombardo speaking to the crowd down below. Let's give the thank yous because we've had a really great night. So I'm going to ask some people to skedoodle over there by Rudy. Rudy Pamantuan, this night would not have happened without him. Thank you for your help. Annie Black, you have just been a rock star tonight. I don't know that I could have made it tonight without you. You were really, really helpful. Eric Sorolla, my friend, who was down in the crowd, and I thought it was going to be awesome, and it wasn't. I'm so sorry. Julie Susie and Law Yoon, get your booty over. Oh my gosh. Law just helped me so much. And then, of course, we have to talk about Spencer. Spencer's not on camera. There's no way to get Spencer, but I mean, I couldn't. There's his hand. There we go. He exists. Spencer came here all the way from Pahrump. He's a teacher. He took today off and he took tomorrow off to help me rebuild the studio. I know he's a good dude. And we couldn't do this without him. So thank you, Spencer. And thanks to my husband and kids who put up with me the past couple of days and are without me tonight and probably most of tomorrow. So, all right. Have a great night, everyone. Keep the faith. And remember, we can make a difference. We just have to find new ways of sharing our message. And together we'll do it. It's why we created GRABET TV. I'll see you next time.